Now, it's case number 87 on the calendar in the matter of Smith versus LaSalle.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Smith, the defendant was a friend of yours, and according to your complaint, you rented a car to her, a car that was registered and titled in your name, that you weren't using. You felt sorry for her, that she needed transportation. You told her she could rent it for $20 a day. It is your claim that she owes you for the rental, as well as some damage that she did to the car. Mr. LaSalle says she owes you nothing. How many cars do you rent out, Mr. Smith?
Well, I've never rented out. The proposition was I wanted to sell it to her. It was her idea to rent it.
And when did you have this conversation?
This was March 22nd in the afternoon. It was like after 1 or 2 p.m.
What kind of car is it?
It's a 1987 Cadillac Eldorado Barrett's. It's like the top-of-the-line model for that year.
Well, top-of-the-line, I was a top-of-the-line model in my year too, sir, but this car is now 20 years old.
It's in good running order. It's in good shape. I only had like 92,000 miles on it.
I'm in good shape too, but I'm still what I am. You know what I'm talking about?
I can tell.
20-year-old car is a 20-year-old car.
20-year-old car by like 2 owners.
I'm not telling you how old I am, and I've only had 2 owners. That still doesn't change anything. You understand?
I understand.
What?
What? What's supposed to say here?
Mr. Smith, I'm not saying anything bad about your car. I'm just saying it's an old car, sir.
It's an old car.
It's not an antique. It's just an old car.
But it's a Cadillac.
Me too. Listen, so what did you decide to do on March 22nd between 1 and 2 in the afternoon with your vintage car?
I gave defendant my phone number. She said she'd call me back, talk it over with her friend. She called me back in about a half hour and said, yeah, let's do a deal.
Let's do a deal?
Yeah.
What do you mean, let's do a deal?
Well, she proposed to rent it. I proposed to sell it. She said she couldn't afford to buy it, so I said...
How much did you want it for?
$20. I wanted $700.
You wanted $700 for the car?
That's all I wanted. She agreed, and I agreed we'll rent it for $20 a day. She went home to talk to her friend. I went home to download a rental car agreement off the internet. I had the paperwork downloaded. I picked them up, and she gave me $20 for the first day. We signed the paperwork. I gave her the keys.
Let me see the paperwork. So you just wanted the car for a week, madam?
No, ma'am.
Did you sign this agreement?
Yeah, when I met Barry on the 22nd, he told me he had cars for rental, 3 cars. I told him I had to talk to my girlfriend and that I would call him back. I did that. We went to go look at the cars. I rented 1 car.
It says here that you're renting this car, and it says what car it is, from March 22nd to March 29th.
He did all the receipts. I also have those. But I wanted to purchase the car. It wasn't rental, and I started renting because I was not working at the time.
All I asked you was, you were supposed to return this vehicle on March 30th. That's what you signed. That's your name.
Yeah, I signed that.
Did you return the car on March 30th?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because I made more payments towards the car. I was buying the car from him.
Did you have a subsequent agreement?
No. We kept doing the rental contracts. But I would pay him more than the $20 a day going towards the purchase of the car.
Show me. First of all, how long did you keep the car?
Until April 14th.
You kept it for an additional 2 weeks. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
That's not correct, Your Honor. She took 2 rental agreements out. She didn't bring the car back. I had to go to her to get the payments and check on the car because she had moved like 15 miles from me. It began like, she was paying me like 3 days in a row. She paid me. At the beginning of the first contract, she paid me the $20.
How many days did she keep the car, sir?
She had the car like 22 days, from the 22nd of March to the
14th of April.
Right.
22 days. And let's do this so that I don't make a mistake. 22 times 20 equals $440. So that's what she should have paid you.
That's correct.
And that's what you would like, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay him?
I paid him more than the receipts that he has given.
How much do you claim that you paid him?
Can my witness come up here?
No! How much do you claim that you paid him?
Almost $600 for the car. That was supposed to be bought for $700.
Almost $600.
Almost $600.
Good. And how many receipts do you have, and how much do they total?
$420.
Let me see them, please. I have $400.
If you look, there might be one with the same date and same amount on it. I think I accidentally wrote 2 receipts for 1 payment.
Oh, yeah. This is a different one. This is a different one.
Yeah.
Right, I'm deducting $80 because it covers the same period
Right.
from 4-3.
I accidentally gave her the wrong copy and everything.
Absolutely right. Minus 80, because she gave me a duplicate, equals 320, and she was supposed to give you 440. Ms. LaSalle, that's what you got. You gave him $320.
Can I speak, Your Honor?
Sure.
He just wrote out receipts. When he came to pick up the vehicle, he went home and just wrote out receipts. The only one receipt that me and Barry had actually made was the yellow receipt. So he just made up receipts for whatever he wanted to make out the receipts. I had the car almost paid for.
Just a second. Almost is not good enough. The only proof, and it's proof that you gave me of what you paid for, are these. That's what you gave me. And it says that you're $120 short. What else, sir?
Friday the 13th, she said, come pick up the car. The car's on empty, it's at her house. She was supposed to bring the car back. So I get a friend of mine, we go up to Jeannie's house, get the car, and I said, when are you gonna have my money? She said, next Friday. We took off, went home. I called her the following Friday. She's not gonna pay me my money, I'm not gonna get any money. So I gave her another week, the 27th, which is the day I filed the lawsuit. Jeannie, am I gonna get my money? You ain't getting nothing. Do what you got to do. And that's when I went to the courthouse. The night while I was driving it back, like I said, it's 15 miles from her house to my house, the front end was shaky. It's a front-wheel drive car, and it's dark. It's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I couldn't see anything, so the next morning, I went out and inspected the car. The right front tire is very low. I take it to a mechanic, have him look at it and get new tires, and they gave me an estimate of what the damages was because the front end suspension was damaged. I've got damages on the car. The car wasn't brought back in the same state that I gave it to her. And
Fine. You wanted to sell the car, sir, for $700. Listen to me.
I wanted to sell it.
Shh. Look at me. You wanted to sell the car for $700.
Correct.
You're going to get $440 for her. Use of the car. You're a couple of $100 short of what you wanted to sell it for. Where is the car now?
I have the car.
Do you drive it?
Yeah, I drive it.
Do you rent it to other people?
No, I don't.
But you use it yourself?
Yes, I do.
So look at what you have. You wanted to sell the car for $700. You're going to get $440, which means that you're just a few dollars off from what you wanted to sell it for, and you have your car. Isn't that great?
Sounds good.
Be happy. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $120, which is what she owes you. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Do you need a shawl?
No.
Did you get confused as to where you were going today?
No.
That's the way you think you should go to court?
No.
And later today.
Why didn't you take care of it?
I didn't feel I had to.
Standing here today, do I change your mind, sir?
No.
Well, then you're an idiot.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Schmidt versus Commissara. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Alicia Schmidt is suing her former friend, 19-year-old Stephanie Commissara, for unpaid babysitting fees. Stephanie says it's Alicia's own fault that she didn't get paid.
Do you need a shawl?
No.
Did you get confused as to where you were going today?
No.
That's the way you think you should go to court?
No.
She actually allowed you to babysit for her children?
Her child, yes.
Anyway, you claim she owes you for some babysitting. She says that the state was supposed to pay you, but you didn't fill out the appropriate paperwork. That's your defense, right?
Yeah, she filled it out, but
She filled it out wrong? I could believe
it
that.
never went through.
So your agreement was she was going to babysit for your child and she was going to get paid by the state because you were doing some work there?
I was working at Sunoco, and
What is that?
It's a convenience
Gas
store.
station.
What were you doing at the store?
Cashier,
How much were you earning?
$7.25.
An hour?
Yeah,
And how much were you bringing home every week?
between $200 and $250.
And who else were you living with?
Just me and my son.
Were you paying rent?
Yes.
How much?
$219.
In an apartment?
Yes.
Where do you come from?
Buffalo, New York.
Isn't it cold in Buffalo?
It's getting warmer.
Now, how long did you watch the baby?
Huh? Sorry.
How long did you watch the baby?
For a month and a half.
Is that what you do for a living, babysit?
No. I
Well, what
did
do you
it because me and her have been friends since we were like 12, 13 years old, and to help her out.
Well, the state didn't pay you. So did you tell her that you thought she should pay you?
Yeah, I did. And I told her when she got her taxes back this year to give me money out of her taxes for that, and then I would leave it alone, and she didn't do that.
Did you get money back from your taxes?
Yes.
How much did you get?
$750 around.
Did you think you should give your friend some money?
I never told her I was going to pay her.
Well, you told her that she was going to get paid for watching your son.
Not out of my money.
Well, she's going to get paid out of your money. You got paid. She wasn't doing this as a favor. She was doing it because she expected to get paid. And if the state didn't pay her for some reason and you did not follow up, which I assume you didn't, is that right?
I called many times to try and see why it wasn't coming.
And so
We both did.
Did you get an answer?
My case was being closed at the time.
So you didn't get an answer?
Nope.
So now you have to pay her.
Why would I pay her when I never said anything about paying her?
I just tried to explain it to you, and I want you to try to put on your listening ears. She was babysitting for your child for money. The state was supposed to pay her. She filled out the forms according to what you told me. You said you called many times. You didn't get an answer as to why they weren't paying her. And then you stopped calling because you were closing your welfare case. That doesn't mean she doesn't get paid because she did the work for you. So you have to pay her. Do you understand?
Yeah. I mean...
And you got back $750 in your taxes. So you're going to get paid, but you're not going to get paid $2,000 because that's ridiculous. You didn't earn $2,000 probably a whole year. But you have to get paid something for the work that you did, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $350. That's all. Thank you.
All these are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fisher versus Wolf. Step forward, please.
25-year-old Rayanne Fisher is suing her ex-boyfriend, Brandon Wolf, for writing a bad check on a shared bank account.
Miss Fisher, this young man used to be your boyfriend and you actually lived together. You made the mistake because you didn't listen to Mother of opening up a joint bank account with him while you were living together. And after you broke up, he wrote out a check. There was no money in the account, but there was evidently one of those privileges that allows you to write checks even though you don't have money in the account, and you were forced to pay the check because there was no money in the account. And you wanted to pay the money back plus whatever fees were charged to you. Mr. Wolf has an interesting defense and an interesting counterclaim. First, let's discover when you broke up. Date.
The date was July 11th of 06.
And when did you write out this check?
I don't actually have the actual date of it.
But I'm sure you do.
Yes, I do. July 16th of 06.
After the bloom was off the rose, right? And at the time, Mr. Wolf, were you aware of the fact that there was no money in the account?
Yes, I was.
So tell me why you did that, sir. First, tell me why you did it. Then tell me why you don't think you're responsible to pay her back the money for it. And then we'll get to your counterclaim.
Okay. I set up with the finance company to where it was a post-dated check.
For what?
For a down payment on my Jeep.
So you gave the finance company a post-dated check?
Yes.
And?
And I had plans on putting the money in the account within the 2 weeks of my next paycheck.
Yes.
By that time, she had already paid this off.
Well, they had to have deposited the check. What do you mean, Mr. Wolf? I want you to try to clear out the fuzzies in your brain. If you had put the money in the account before they cashed the check, there would be no problem. She wouldn't have known anything, right? So you didn't put the money in the account.
No.
Or the finance company cashed the check before they were supposed to.
Correct.
Well, which one is it? I gave you two choices. They can't be both correct.
They actually cashed the check before the post date.
Well, so the bank probably shouldn't have done that, right?
Right.
But you had the money.
Right. It was a misunderstanding.
Fine. So why didn't you give Miss Fisher back the money? Since you had the money, let me give it to you this way. You had the money. That's what you told me.
Right.
You were going to put it in the bank.
Correct.
Your finance company, for your truck, deposited the check early. That's what you're telling me.
Correct.
But you had the money. What's your first name?
Rayanne.
Say to Rayanne, Rayanne, I'm sorry, this was all a misunderstanding. I have the money. I'm going to give you back the money. I want you to be whole. Why didn't you give her back the money?
Well, what happened is, on my Jeep, I ended up getting it repoed from me.
What month?
It was August, I think.
So we're talking about now in July. July, you had the money
Right.
to pay the down payment, so why didn't you just give it to Rayanne, who paid the overdraft protection on the truck?
I never asked her to pay it.
Who cares? You had it. Why didn't you take care of it?
I didn't feel I had to.
Standing here today, do I change your mind, sir?
No.
Well, then you're an idiot. You the girlfriend?
I'm the fiance.
Fiance. I think twice about making babies with him. Listen, your debt, your problem. You had the money.
Right.
I also don't believe that a finance company takes a post-dated check and allows you to take a car. That is a lot of who shot John. So, now that I've already determined that you owe her the money, how much money does he owe you?
$592.90.
$592.92. That's what you owe her. Now I am prepared, sir, to listen to your counterclaim.
What happened is, I was in the hospital for a week, and one of my payments fell through on my Jeep.
Another payment fell through.
Yes.
Like an accident looking to happen.
They sent a tow truck to her house.
To whose house?
Rand's house.
Why would they think it's at her house?
Because it was registered under the address.
So the tow truck came to the house and said, where's the truck? Go ahead.
She brought the tow truck over to my sister's house, had it towed, sat in...
No. She didn't have anything towed.
Oh. She brought the tow truck over to my sister's
They
house.
said, where is this car?
Right.
And she said, it's not here. Maybe it's at his sister's house. I'll show you where that is. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So
correct. She sat in the parking lot also, took pictures, sent them to me on my phone, and also put them up on her MySpace page.
So what? So what?
I didn't feel that was right.
Maybe she would have felt more kindly if she wasn't out $600 for your truck while you're fooling around with your new fiancé. Do you understand? One
Yes,
good
ma'am.
turn deserves another. Your counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $592.92. Thank you.
On your right, please. You may... Yeah, it's case number 136 on the calendar in the matter of Bone versus Howard. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Bone, your car was vandalized after a party that was held at the defendant's house.
Yes, ma'am.
It was, I assume, your 18th birthday party?
Yes.
You're the brother?
Yes.
And you believe that Mr. Howard, who permitted this party to be had in his house, is responsible for the damage to your car?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Howard, while sympathetic that your car was damaged, says that the people who damaged your car were uninvited guests, uninvited thugs at the party, and you should pursue them for damaging your car. Stand up, please, next to your dad. Mr. Howard, you were not home at the time of this party, is that right?
Yes.
Where were you?
I was at work.
And this was on a Friday evening?
Yes, it was, Your Honor.
What date?
December 15th, 06.
And when is your birthday?
December 20th.
So the party wasn't held on your birthday?
No, because there was school, so couldn't do it on a school night.
All right, Mr. Bone, were you an invited guest at this party?
Yes.
You were there with your girlfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
That's this young lady?
Yes.
What time did you arrive at the party?
About 7:30, ma'am.
Had you ever been to the Howard house before?
Yes, ma'am.
Does your girlfriend live close by?
This is the next door neighbor, ma'am.
Stand up. How long have you and Haley been friends?
I'd say since about 5th grade.
So you were invited to the party?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did you stay at the party, Mr. Bone?
Approximately half an hour.
Why did you leave after a half an hour?
There wasn't too many people that we know, and there was a lot of alcohol there, so we decided we were going to go back to Jessica's house.
How many people were there?
Probably 40 to 50 people.
Is that right?
Yes, I'd say that's about right.
Mr. Howard, how many people did your daughter tell you were going to be at this party?
Maybe about 15, 20 people that I was aware of.
Now, when you got there and there were 40 to 50 people at the party, you said that there was alcohol. Tell me about where the alcohol was set up.
It really wasn't just set up. It was kind of a bring-your-own thing. It was pretty much spread out through the entire house.
How many people did you know at the party?
about 6 to 7 people that I actually had known.
And how many people did you know?
I knew about 10 to 15.
And how old were the people that you knew?
The people that I knew were 17 or 18, and they were all in high school. The others, I didn't know.
Of the 17 and 18-year-olds there, were any of them drinking?
Of the ones that I knew, a couple of them were, and the ones that I was hanging out with were not.
And what about you, Mr. Bone? Of the people that you knew?
Those were the same people that
Same people, and they were?
Drinking. The ones that we had left with went back to her house with us. It was four others that went back with us, and they left shortly after that.
So it's 7:30, and you stayed for a half hour until about 8 o'clock. When you left, some people went with you?
Yes.
Were the people that went with you people who were or were not drinking?
We're not.
We're not. Is the reason that you left early because of the number of people that were there?
I left early because I didn't feel comfortable, being that I didn't know half of the people that were there and the amount of alcohol that was there. I just did not feel comfortable.
Did you speak to Haley about the number of people that were there?
I did not speak to her about the number of people.
What did you speak to her about?
About the alcohol.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
I told her that having the alcohol there, being that she's underage, was not a good idea, since my father, who lives right next door, is a cop.
And what did Haley say to you?
She didn't really say much, just that it would be okay, nothing bad would happen.
You remember that conversation?
Yeah, I do.
You want to explain that to me?
Well, I didn't think it would be a big problem because we knew, well, I knew some of the people. There was other people that just came with their friends that I didn't know. And everything was cool for the time we were there, so I didn't think there would be a problem.
All right, Mr. Bones, so tell me what happened with your car.
Well, after we had left the party, we went to Jessica's house, and we received a call about, I don't know, 11 o'clock, I would say, saying that there had been a fight at Haley's house and that they needed help breaking it up. So me and her father, Ron, went outside, and we seen people fighting around my car and various places in the yard. And after he had broken it up, I walked around my car and seen that the mirror was laying on the ground next to the car, and there was a bunch of mud on the window and on the door and on the fender and on the trunk of my car. And
what time was this?
Probably 11 o'clock.
Okay. How did that happen?
There was a fight. There's a total of 2 fights, and that last one that happened, a bunch of people had left. They were the ones that we told to leave, and they came back.
Those people that you told to leave, had they been there earlier in the evening when they were there?
Not all of them.
But some of them?
Yes.
And so you told them to leave?
Yes, and they were not invited back. And there was just a few people that were left, like around 10, and then they were all there, and all these guys came back, and they had brought more people with them. And then we seen the trucks and the vehicles coming down the road, and people ran to the door to see what was going on, and we saw they were back. People went outside to see them, and I guess the fight broke out. I ran upstairs to call Jessica's dad, the cop, because I knew something bad was going to happen. And I didn't want no one to get hurt, like, seriously.
Did you know the names of any of the people that were out there and involved in this fight?
Some of them I did. Others I did not.
Did you tell the police their names?
I didn't really get a chance to talk to the police very much, actually. I told them what had happened, and then that was pretty much it.
Well, his car was damaged.
Right. I wasn't even downstairs, like, because it happened in the basement. And I was upstairs. I stayed in my room because I'm not dumb enough to go back downstairs. There's a bunch of guys fighting.
Anything else you want to tell me?
No.
Anything you want to tell me?
Yes. The night of the party, I was chaperoning it. When I showed up, a few people had already brought alcohol.
What time did you show up?
Around 8 p.m. There was already a few kids there, a few adults there.
Just a second.
Sorry.
Your first name is?
Tim.
How old are you, Tim?
31.
Tim, first of all, you should have been there at 7:30, not 8 o'clock. That's number one.
I wasn't actually told to be there.
I don't care what you were told. If your father was relying on you as the adult to chaperone the party, by the time these people got there at 7:30, there were already 40 to 50 people there. So if you arrived at 8 o'clock, you got there too late.
We didn't get on the same page, but I showed up at home at 8 o'clock that evening, and it was going on.
Oh, just a second. So that you were not asked to chaperone the party.
I was asked to chaperone, but we didn't, somehow he didn't mention to me that it was going to be that day.
Ah, perfect. Mr. Howard, this is not looking good for you, sir. I want you to understand that. Are you getting the fact that this is not looking good for you?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
I'm going to hear the rest of the scenario from your son, but this is not looking good for your team.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I show up around 8 o'clock in the evening. There's about 15 people there. 3 of them already had alcohol with them. They were already drinking. So I checked their IDs. I made them go downstairs with the people that were over 21 to play pool. Everyone else that was under stayed upstairs. I stayed down there with them for a while. Every once in a while I walked upstairs, checked on some people. I let Haley watch everybody else upstairs. I didn't notice anybody drinking up there. When I went back downstairs, I was watching people playing pool. Shortly after that, within a half hour or so, about 50 or 60 people just barreled in the door. I knew I couldn't handle all these people.
Let me explain something to you.
Yes.
These people came to a party at 7:30. This young lady has been a friend of your sister since the 5th grade. These people tell me that the reason that they left at 8 o'clock was because there were 40 to 50 people there at the party.
It wasn't until
So I'm speaking. Many of whom they didn't know, and there was underage drinking there. Now, they were coming to a party that day. She was coming there because she was a friend of your sister's. So who do you think I'm going to believe? The people that left at 8 o'clock because they felt so uncomfortable there that they left a party and they took 4 people with them? Or you think I'm going to believe you, who was downstairs watching some people play pool? Do you get it? You get
Yes,
where
I
I'm
do.
going?
Yes,
Sit
I do.
down. Now, Mr. Howard.
Yes, ma'am.
You have 30 seconds to tell me why this isn't your responsibility.
I feel I'm just as much of a victim as Mr. Bone here because of the fact that I've got property damage, which I have some pictures to show.
I couldn't care less about your property damage. You brought that on yourself.
Okay. I don't know who these people were. They were uninvited and they just showed up with bats and...
How old are you?
I'm 54.
They didn't show up with bats, sir. They were at the party, many of them. During the course of the evening, they were thrown out of the party and they went and they got more people to come back with them. But some of the same people, according to your daughter, because she first said she knew who some of them were, and then she said, well, I don't know, I was in my room, I didn't want to go. She knew the names of some of them who came back. They just came back with more people. Now, you were working Friday night?
Yes.
Do you work Saturday night?
Yes.
Do you work Sunday night?
No.
Then that's the day you should have had the party. Not on a night when you're not going to be home. If you choose to allow your teenage daughter to have a party in her house, and you believed her, which is the first mistake with regard to a teenager to begin with, right? That they're going to have a handful of people, 15 people, that turns into 40 or 50, and you don't make adequate arrangements for supervision, which clearly you didn't make, because according to your son, you had discussed this party but hadn't made any definitive plans for him to chaperone it. That's what you told me.
I wasn't clear at the time.
You open your house to teenagers and you're not there, you're going to be responsible for anything bad that goes on in that house. Fortunately, it was just his car that got damaged. But if somebody had been sexually molested in your house, some 17-year-old, you wouldn't have a house anymore, sir. You wouldn't have a house, you wouldn't have a car, you wouldn't have a bank account, you would have nothing. Because it would be your fault. And you can't say, I thought my son was going to chaperone and I didn't know the people. When you open your house to teenagers to have a party and things get out of hand, it's your fault. Period. End of discussion. So if your house was damaged and vandalized, it's a good lesson. You're responsible for the damage to his car, which is how much, sir?
$2,574.39.
Can I see it, please? Got pictures of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see the pictures, too.
They're not very good pictures, but they are there.
What, were they there with bats? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,574.39. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was a fair decision. However, I'm a little upset that it didn't go my way due to the fact that I feel like I'm a victim as well.
There's nice folks, and I have never had a problem before this, and really didn't want to go this way with it this time, but that's the way it went.
He got out of here.
My dad was actually called by Haley because he's a cop.
I took a scar to the hand. A few friends of mine took a bat to the face to try to stop this fight.
I heard a lot of yelling. That's what I heard.
I've got another child that's 13, and he ain't having no parties at the house either. She ruined it for all of them.
It sounded like a normal party going on, just, you know, people having fun, no big deals.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of King versus Hilligas. Step forward, please.
James King is suing his ex-girlfriend, Connie Hilligas, for unauthorized charges she made on his Sears MasterCard. James says Connie took advantage of his kindness.
Mr. King, you and the defendant were involved in a relationship, and according to your complaint, you gave her a credit card. The credit card was your sole responsibility. Did it have her name on it?
I placed her on the account, yes.
The payment of it was your responsibility?
Yes.
Solely. And it was, for what purpose did you give her this credit card?
Connie had become ill, and she was out of work. She did not have insurance, and she needed medicine. And I told her she could use the card in emergency situations, but also made it clear that she needed to pay the bill when it came in when she was employed.
How long had you been dating at the time?
About a year.
Were you living together?
No.
What kind of credit card did you get for her?
It's a Sears MasterCard.
And when did you give it to her?
I gave it to her approximately April of 2004.
April of 2004?
Yes, ma'am.
And she had it until when?
Until October of 2006.
Who was getting the bills?
She was. We had put the address for billing to her apartment so that she could pay the bill when it came in, and I wouldn't have to bring the bills over to her.
When did you terminate your relationship?
Probably August of 2006.
And between April of 04 and August of 06, you had no knowledge that there was anything happening with this credit card, that there was any delinquency with this credit card, because all the bills were being handled by Miss Hillegas.
That's correct.
Is that right?
Partially correct, yes.
Well, were you paying the bills as they came in?
Yes, ma'am. The account had been more than once substantial amounts of money on it. I paid it off, Mr. King did live with me. I have many witnesses to that fact.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything else. What happened, sir, in October of 06?
I got a call from Sears Credit Card Services. They said there were some charges on the card that were suspicious. They didn't understand. I spoke with the people there, and they explained to me that there have been balance transfers from other credit cards that were not in my name.
Can I see that, please? Do you have any?
Yes, ma'am, I sure do, right here.
I'd like to see it. Did you transfer balances from other credit cards to his credit card?
No, ma'am. As a matter of fact, in June, I actually transferred it onto my account, paid the account off in full. As far as they were normal charges that I use every month.
I just asked you a question. Did you transfer any other credit card balances to this balance?
No, ma'am.
You did transfer. Capital One card, Merit Bank card, $700.
What was the date on that?
October 5th. Then you had a charge of $295.52 on October 3rd. So you did transfer accounts.
I also have right here $1,500 payment that I tried to make on the account.
I don't care what you tried to do. What I'm telling you is you transferred other accounts to this account.
And I tried to reverse them, but Mr. King would not allow me to. And I was informed.
Why did you do it to begin with?
To try to get this resolved and get this account paid off.
How do you attempt?
In October.
Listen to me.
Sure.
Come on. How old are you?
42.
Don't try to pull wool over my eyes.
I'm not.
Piddle on my leg.
For
How
also
much is
bills
left
that
on
he
the account?
$2,719.47.
Okay, and you want your money?
Yes, ma'am.
Ball's in your court.
The account numerous times went back and forth for 3 years. I paid on the account back and forth. He was living with me over 2 years. Mr. King called and told me that in no circumstances was I to have anything to do with that account at any time, or he would press charges against me for fraud. I had tried to make a $1,500 balance transfer to the account.
You know, I don't understand the word you just said. I mean, I don't understand the relevance of a word that you just said.
Because I tried to pay on the account. He forced it and said I could not.
I want to know why you don't owe him this money. What's your defense?
My defense is Mr. King lived with me for almost 3 years. He never paid me a dime.
So who cares?
It went back and forth for
What's back and forth? I don't understand. What's back and forth?
Things that I've paid for. He said the account, if he'd left the account alone, I would have gladly paid it. He wanted me to make cash payments to him on a monthly basis. Because of his temper and other hostilities, I didn't want to have to be responsible.
Do you know that I don't believe a word you're telling me?
That's
not a word you're telling me.
That's fine.
I think what happened was, who broke up with whom in August?
I ended the relationship.
Well, if you ended the relationship in August, then she went on a spending spree. And she was really going to get you because She transferred the other balances to this account. She was really angry with you, Mr. King.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's too bad. You know, things come, things go, back and forth. With that, you owe him $2,719. Pay him. That's all. Step out.
Thank you.
Parties are excused.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Burr versus Gracia, step forward, please.
Wanda Burr is suing her neighbor, Juanita Gracia, for the cost to fix her car and for vandalism to her home. Wanda says the culprit is Juanita's son, 14-year-old Alberto Lopez.
You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Oh, no.
Gentlemen, stand up, please. No, you sit down.
Sit down. All right, Miss Burr, this is your son. Miss Garcia, this is your son. Neither of you were present on the date that Miss Garcia's son was in the driver's seat of your car and caused damage to it.
That's correct.
And that's what this lawsuit is about. You believe that Miss Garcia is responsible for her son's actions and should pay for the damage to your car. Miss Garcia says that it wasn't her son's fault, that your son was there the whole time, and if you want to hold somebody responsible, you should hold your son responsible. Right? Right. Okay. What's your first name?
Casey McDavid.
I want you to keep the voice up. Are you frightened here today?
No, ma'am.
You a little nervous?
No, ma'am.
I'm going to change that. On what day were you in your mother's car?
He was not in the vehicle, Your Honor.
Where were you?
Me and my friends were on the computer, and I went to the bathroom. I came out. He took the keys off my door, and I seen the car go past the window, and I went out, and I seen him hit the tree.
You saw him.
I seen him get in my car.
Where were the keys?
They were on the door.
Of what room?
Of the front door.
And where's your computer?
In the living room.
The computer's next to the front. Sorry.
Were you there?
No, ma'am.
Keep your mouth closed. So you were on the computer in the living room.
Yes, ma'am.
And where were your friends?
They were on the computer with me.
How many friends?
3.
Who are they?
Alberto, Brandon, and Dwayne.
What's Brandon's last name?
I don't know.
What's Dwayne's last name? Is he still your friend?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I haven't talked to him
Since when?
Since the accident.
And what about Brandon? Have you spoken to him?
No, ma'am.
Why haven't you spoken to them since the accident? Casey?
Ever since the accident, I just lost touch.
Why? They were in the room with you on the computer, right?
Right.
They weren't near the car, so why would you stop being their friend?
I just haven't talked to him in a while.
Okay, now let me hear your version of what happened.
Me, Brandon, and Dwayne were sitting on the living room couch. I was next to Casey looking on the computer with him. Me and Brandon discussed getting in the car and listening to the music, and the keys were on the desk of the computer, not hanging. I took the keys in front of Casey. He didn't say anything. Me and Brandon went into the car, started the car.
Brendan, too?
Brandon was in the car. We started the car and started listening to music. I switched gears in the car in reverse. Casey came out and just stood there and watched us.
Casey came out?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he say to you?
I don't know if he said anything, but he just stood there watching us. And I backed the car, and I guess...
Why did you do that?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know. He's taken the car out before. It's not like it was the first time he's done it.
He didn't do anything.
Well, that we've done it, he's let us drive before. And I started backing up the car. I was gonna go anywhere, and then Brendan got scared and opened the passenger door and jumped out, and that's when the door hit the tree. I stopped the car and moved it back forward, and we noticed the damages to the car.
So whose fault is this?
Mine.
Perfect. Why didn't you convince your mother of that?
When his mother found out, we all discussed together that we will each take responsibility for it.
Who's each?
Me, Brendan, and Casey. Because
well, it's not, just a second. Not Casey's fault. You took the keys. You didn't have permission to take the keys. Brendan, maybe. He was with you, but he didn't drive it. You did. Why is it anybody else's fault but yours?
They didn't stop me.
So let's say you're walking down the street with your mother, and you see somebody that you went to school with that you don't like, and you walk past them, and you say to your mother, I'm going to punch him in the face. You walk past him, you punch him in the face. Gets hurt. Would that be your mother's fault?
No, ma'am.
Why? She didn't stop you. She didn't stop you. You get it?
Yes, ma'am.
You have anything to say to me, Miss Garcia?
Yeah. The reason I felt that it wasn't all our fault, his fault, was because all three parties were involved. Casey is older than my child. The key was in his house.
Just a second. How much older is he?
2 years older than him.
So what?
No, but he had possession of the keys.
No, he didn't. He didn't have possession of the keys.
They've done.
If he had the keys in his pocket.
No, Judge.
Hey, listen to me. If he had the keys in his pocket, and he took the keys out of his pocket and handed them to your son, then he had control of the keys. Your son didn't ask permission. It's like he stole the keys. And what he's saying is, well, nobody stopped me. I mean, you mean if he walked out with the silver, nobody stopped him? He could have the silver? If he saw the family jewels and he said, I'm going to take those. And he said, well, I took them, but nobody stopped me. So why can't I have those? He stole the keys and he went outside. And he was in the car already.
Yes, Your
Honor. All right. How much damage did you have to your car?
I also have another incident, Your Honor, where my new truck was keyed and I saw Alberto running from my carport that evening, and I have a police report on it as well. And there have been other instances, burnt screens, lawn bags that I've bagged up have been scattered over my yard the next morning, graffiti on the side of my house.
Mr. Garcia, what do you want to say? It wasn't you, right?
The police report didn't even say that. When we was there with the cops, she said that her daughter came out of the house and said that she may have saw the back of my head.
Listen to me, sir. What I'm going to say to you is, only you and I know whether or not you were involved in any of these shenanigans that's taken place in the Burr home since this incident. Unfortunately, Miss Burr knows that she has insufficient proof of what's been going on, this little vandalism and prank stuff, because I'm sure that Brandon is involved, which is why he doesn't see him anymore. I don't know about Dwayne. Dwayne was in the house. Why don't you see him anymore?
I don't know.
So you didn't tell me the whole story. You didn't tell your mother the whole story. He didn't tell you the whole story, Miss Burr. Not the whole story, but he's not responsible. You are. And if you've been fooling around with Miss Burr's property, it better stop. Because now 10 million people know that you are potentially a suspect. So there are going to be lots of eyes on you, including the police. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. What's the estimate to fix your car?
One is for $1,608, the other one's for $1,733, and the third one, $1,840.
Can I see pictures of the car, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's not $3,000, $1,608. Where did you learn your math?
Also for the keying of my truck.
I already told you that you have no proof of that. Okay. He did it. You weren't paying attention. Oh, you're lucky that this damage is only $1,608, that she can have it fixed for that. That's pretty nasty damage, sir. How old are you?
14.
Ever been in any trouble before?
No, ma'am.
Great. Don't get into trouble again. Your mother looks like a very nice lady. She doesn't need trouble from you.
No, she doesn't.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,608. Thank you.
Parties are excused and they step out. Yeah, it's case number 109 on the calendar in the matter of Gardner versus Beard.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Gardner, it is my understanding, and this is some sort of convoluted arrangement for the purchase of a truck. You purchased a truck from Mr. Beard. You claim that he took the truck back. You want all the payments that you made to him on the truck returned to you. In addition, you say he took a dirt bike that belonged to, I think, your son.
Correct.
And he sold it. You want the money for the dirt bike. Mr. Beard has a whole different scenario about what happened with this truck and dirt bike. So let me make it simple for myself. You knew each other. You were friends?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's all I have to know. I don't need to go into the social history. I'm really not interested. You had a truck.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the year and make of the truck?
It was a 1992 Ford F-150 stick shift single cab pickup truck.
Okay. And you were in need of a vehicle. So you agreed to purchase the truck from Mr. Beard. When?
We made an agreement, I think it was around September or August.
What was the date?
It was August 12th. It was the same day I bought my new green truck.
Does that sound right?
That's not correct. It was before he bought his truck.
It was before you bought his truck?
Yeah, we were actually at
Just a second.
gathering.
How much before he bought the truck?
I think it's about a week or two.
Fine. And you gave him how much down?
It was $500.
So far, we agree on that?
No, ma'am.
How much did she give
She
you?
actually gave me nothing when I gave her the truck originally.
No, I have a copy of it. I have 2 canceled
But she
checks
did,
here.
in fact, give you money.
She did, yes.
How much did she give you at first?
At first, $500 check.
And when was that?
I received both checks of $500 increments by November 16th.
And did she have the truck prior to that?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she take possession of the truck?
Actually, a couple days after my original date, August 12th, that I gave her the truck.
So, according to her, it was the beginning of August. So you got possession. Listen to me, Miss Gardner. You got possession of the truck the beginning of August.
I have a check dated 8/14 of 06 for $500.
Fine. He says that you got possession of the truck before you gave him the check.
I'm not sure of the exact date, but that's probably close.
Fine. So let's say August 1st you got possession of the truck. August 14th you gave him $1,000.
I gave him $500 on 8/14 of 06 and another $500 on 10/13/06.
When were you supposed to give him the money?
We did not have a specific agreement. He said that I could pay him on it as I was able to.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, that is.
Okay. So he was a nice guy. August, you gave him a check for $500. October, you gave him another check for $500, leaving a balance of?
It was about $1,100. I'd also given him $100 cash, $100 cash.
Forget about the cash.
Yeah.
So you
it'd
gave
been
him $1,000, leaving a balance of?
It'd be $1,400.
$1,500. Don't play with
Not including the $100 that I gave him.
Not including the $100.
Right.
Right. In cash. You give him checks and then you give him cash?
Yep.
So you owed him $1,500. And you've already had the truck 4 months.
Yep.
Well, when were we supposed to complete the payments on this truck?
We had actually come up with the money, and we called him. My fiance Robin called him and said, "We have the rest of the money for the truck. Would you like us to go ahead and bring it to you?"
When was this?
This was later, after we found out that I'd asked him. I said, "Can I sell the truck to someone else? It's not working out for me." And he said, "Fine, no problem."
Just a second. Starting November, you've made no further payments. When did you call him and tell him you wanted to sell the truck?
It was approximately February 15th is when we called to offer him the rest of the money, so it had been about 2 weeks before that, so about February 1st.
So if you had the truck August, September, October, November, December, and January, 6 months.
Correct. I was also
Just a second.
making repairs on it.
I don't care whether you were making it. You were using it. Who was supposed to make repairs on it, Bird? You bought a truck that's 15 years old. 15 years old.
Yeah.
And you bought it for $2,500. You've had the truck now 6 months. You've paid less than half on it. And now, according to you, you call him up sometime in February.
Yeah.
And say to him, truck's not working out for me. Is that what you just said? I want to sell it. So, before you can sell something, you have to pay for it.
Well, I asked him, I said, I need to sell the truck. Is it okay if I go ahead and sell it to someone else and I'll give you the money that I owe you? He said, no problem, that's absolutely fine. Let me know when you have a buyer. And he had a friend of his that was also interested in the truck. So he came to my home and picked up the truck to show his friend.
When did he come to your home to... Shh, just a second. Yeah. When did he come to your home to pick up the truck?
It would have been sometime around between February 1st and February 15th, that 2-week period.
Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
So after that, he picked up the truck, took it to his home, and he said that he had a buyer for it, and no problem, I'll give you the $1,100 that you paid me on it, and no big deal. During that time, he had offered to pick up my son Zachary's dirt bike from the shop that I had taken it to. It was probably going to run me about $600 or $700 to get it fixed, and Andrew was very mechanically inclined and said, hey, let me pick it up, I'll take it to the house, fix it for Zachy, no problem. So that's what happened with the truck. So he fixed it, and I was calling him saying, hey, I need to get the bike back for Zach, and this and that. No return phone calls, text messaging, no return text messages, nothing. So on February 15th, he had possession of the truck. We called him and said, we have the rest of the money. Let's go ahead and we'll give you the money for the truck and just be done with it. You'll
have a chance in a minute. Stop raising your hand. It's annoying and it's distracting. Go ahead.
I said, we'll just give you the rest of the money for the truck. Let's just get it done, And then after that, it was February 25th. I called and I talked to him about, or I sent him a text message and phoned him saying, I'm coming by to get Zachary's dirt bike. And at that time, he sent me a text message saying that he sold it, which I don't know how he could sell a dirt bike that he didn't have the title to without it being a legal transaction. So the bike at no point in time was ever collateral for that truck. He was doing me a favor. Actually, he's doing Zachary a favor in fixing the dirt bike. We never had an agreement that it was collateral.
So what do you want?
I want the money that I gave him for the $1,100 for the truck, and I want the money for the dirt bike to replace the dirt bike for my kid.
Well, so that means that you used his truck for 7 months. You used it, you put mileage on it, you did whatever you had to do. You used his truck for nothing?
Well, yeah. I mean, the truck is, it would be nice to get that money back. I want to replace my son's dirt bike.
Just a second. Well, I'm trying to understand, madam. You purchased something, you didn't finish paying for it, you used it for 7-8 months, and now you want the money back that you gave him, which was less than half of the amount of the truck. I mean, let's break it down.
The reason I'm asking for that is because he said, hey, no problem, when I sell the truck or you sell the truck, when you find a buyer for it, I'll give you the money back. No big deal.
You know, I'm going to listen to him, but you know why I question what you say to me?
Why?
Because you told me that on February 1st, you called him and you said, truck's not working out, right? And you said, I had the money, because February 15th, you called and said to him, listen, let me come by and give you the money for the truck.
I actually didn't have the balance of the money until February 15th.
How were you getting the balance of the money?
My fiance, Robin.
Yes, your fiance, Robin, was what?
Giving me the money.
Well, why couldn't he give you the money February 1st? Why didn't you say to him, let me come by and pick up the truck, and say to him, no, I'm going to have the balance of the money in 2 weeks, and then I'm going to sell the truck.
Well, I know that Robin had tried to call several times and offer that, and I wasn't present during all of those conversations.
No way. Baloney.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
After I repossessed it, the tailgate was smashed, my bed liner was scratched, the side of the truck. It was very apparent that they were bitter about me taking the truck and smashed it.
You have pictures of it?
And later today,
she asked me to watch her dog when she went upstairs to put the mail away. I was playing with the dog outside. The dog went under my leg. The leash wrapped around my ankle and I tripped and I fell on top of the dog.
Allison Gardner claims former friend Andrew Beard repossessed a truck he sold her. She is suing for the return of payments made and for the cost of a dirt bike he sold without her permission.
Okay. Now, Mr. Beard.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's hear it, sir.
Well, first off,
who's this person?
this is my girlfriend, Danielle.
Okay, because she's been dying to tell me something. I'm going to let her talk in a minute. Go ahead.
Even here, she was living with a guy in Reno.
Okay. Well, first off, her
Just a
dates
second.
are way off.
Do not interrupt him. Do you understand? Perfect.
Her dates are actually incorrect on just about everything, unfortunately, except for when I did take the truck back. That was correct. Beginning of February, I actually brought my roommate, Sean, at the time. But regarding the phone call with Robin, I was actually called when I took the truck back, and I believe he actually did ask me to pay $500 right then, which he said he would give me a check.
Why did you go and take the truck back, sir?
Because at that point...
Look at me. Don't look down
Okay. At that point in time, I'd found out that Rob was driving the truck, who unfortunately had 3 DUIs and should not have been driving.
That's him.
Yes, ma'am.
Put your hand down.
In which I do have a police report for. And on top of that, I hadn't received money. I had been trying to call her and get the money. I was sick. I got injured in a rodeo. Told her many times I needed it.
When for the first time did you ask her for the money? After October?
It was actually after the first payment of $1,000 it's actually before December. Between November and December, I'd been asking her multiple times that I needed the money.
And what was her excuse for not giving it to you?
Well, the few times that she actually did call me back, it was she just didn't have it. She wasn't working. She was working a different job. Rob was trying to work to get the money, but he had to pay off for classes for his DUIs and just was not able to get the money.
Just a minute. Okay, so you went to pick up the truck because you were repossessing it.
Yes, ma'am.
Title had never passed, I assume.
No, ma'am.
You had ownership of the
Yes,
truck
ma'am.
until it was paid off.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me about the dirt bike.
The dirt bike was actually given to me in end of August, and I was supposed to repair it like she had said. That was correct. And it actually was staying at my house because with her house she was renting, it just was cluttering up her garage, and I was still working on it, which was fine. And by the time the truck transaction was starting to go south, I had informed her I'd feel more comfortable if it stayed at my house until it was sold as collateral, and she did agree upon that, and it was considered just to stay at my house, and I was going to fix it and had every intention on giving it back if my truck was either fully paid off or given back to me in the condition I had given it to them.
Okay, so you took the truck back.
Yes, ma'am.
First thing, let me tell you, Mr. Beard, she's not getting the money back for the truck. She used your truck. She did not fulfill your contract. She is not entitled to any money back. It's not as if she took it and had it for one day. She took it and used it, and he drove it. No question in my mind, he drove it. My concern is with this bike. So now you have the truck. Did you sell the truck?
No, ma'am, I traded it.
You traded it for what?
It was hard selling it because when I had taken the truck back, it was at my house. I was in the process of repairing it, which it extensively needed, and they had came to my house when I was in Chico on business, called me, quickly left a message saying, I'm picking up the truck, I'm leaving my car for you, before I even could call them back and said, that's not acceptable, I'm working on this
What do you mean they're
truck.
leaving that car for you?
They just said they would leave her car with the keys. I had no idea. By the time I got back home, there was her car with keys under the tire, and my truck gone.
What kind of car did you leave?
A 99 Infiniti G20.
What did you leave it for?
Andrew had known that I was going to use the truck to move. I was moving out of my house. It was
just a second.
At that
So
point
you
in
were
time.
using just a second.
So I picked
so
up
you
the
picked
truck
up
and used
the
it to move.
you picked up the truck to use it.
Yes.
When?
I don't know the exact date.
You know
but
the date?
I don't. I'm horrible with dates.
Early February.
Early February,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
It was February. So she left her car
Mhm.
and picked up the truck after you had repossessed it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it. When you say you traded it in, what did you trade it in for?
I traded it for a boat because I felt at that time I can get more money after repairing the boat than I could the truck. Because when I received the truck after she had taken it, after I repossessed it, the tailgate was smashed, my bed liner was scratched, the side of the truck. It was very apparent that they were bitter about me taking the truck and smashed
You have pictures of it?
I have pictures of how it looked. Unfortunately, I do not have pictures of how it looked after.
Well, why didn't you take pictures afterwards, sir?
Oh, I traded it as soon as it was messed up.
Well, then that's a problem that you have,
That was
sir.
my problem, yes, ma'am.
It certainly is a problem. Where's the dirt bike?
The dirt bike I sold after that, too.
Well, that was a mistake.
Yes, ma'am.
What year dirt bike was this?
She claimed it was a 2004 and that she had title.
You have the
I
title
have the
too?
title right here.
I'd like to see
Okay.
it.
It's an 04 Honda CRF 50.
Let me see. Okay. How much did you sell it for?
$550, which was totally going to cover the mud in my radiator, the damage to my tailgate, the smashed spark plugs, and the condition overall the truck was running.
I don't know what these things cost. I have no idea.
I actually have a blue book statement.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, ma'am.
I also have an estimate from Roseville Cycle Center that would be the replacement value as well
I'll
as...
use Blue Book.
It shows the retail and MSRP in 2004 of what that bike went for.
Okay. SRP in 2004 was $1,100. Retail now is $749, and the average trade-in was $562. But if she went to purchase it, at this point she'd have to pay $750. Is that what I'm understanding from this?
Yes, in an excellent condition. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What was wrong with it when you gave it to him to fix?
My son had got water in the tailpipe when he was washing it, so it just needed to be cleaned out.
Is that right?
No, ma'am.
I didn't think so. Otherwise, why would he have?
I'm not very good with
Otherwise,
dirt
why
bikes,
would he
so
have
I
it?
don't know.
Otherwise, why would he have it since August? If all you had to do was just clean out the tailpipe.
It was running before that.
What had to be done with the bike?
The tailpipe did have to be cleaned out, the inside of the motor as well, because unfortunately it had smoke and oil burnout in it and mud, again, in the engine.
Fine. You shouldn't have sold her bike. Shouldn't have sold her bike. I understand your frustration, but you shouldn't have sold her bike. She doesn't get her $1,100 back, and she doesn't get what she's looking for, which was $2,700, because that's ludicrous. She gets $550, which is the trade-in value of the bike, and that's what you got for it.
Okay.
Right?
Yes,
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $550. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Excuse me. You were dying to say something. Is there anything that you were dying to say?
No, he covered it.
Perfect. Thank you.
When I got sick, I told them I needed the money,
We just had a different agreement than what's in his brain.
and they just had no feelings and no need to help me like I did them.
You know, it just was a he said, she said thing, and it got a little out of hand.
Now, this is case number 19 on the calendar in the matter of Tedrick versus Barranca Roca Mock.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. and Mrs. Tedrick, it is your claim that the three defendants vandalized your car, scratched it all up, slashed the tires.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendants say that they had nothing to do with the car being vandalized. How do you know these people?
They used to be my upstairs neighbors
How long were they your neighbors?
for probably about 8 months before they got evicted for vandalizing the car.
Did the three of you live together?
No, I was the only one that lived there. I was his neighbor.
And where did you live?
Me, I lived the same place with my mom. I don't live with her. I didn't live with her.
And what about you?
What about me? That was actually my first time over there.
How do you know them?
How do I know them? They are my friends.
How long have you known them?
How long have I known them?
Why do you keep answering my question with a question, sir? I'm not going to give you enough time to think of an answer that's not going to be honest. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. How long have you known them?
3 years.
Each of them?
No.
Who do you know 3 years? Raise your hand. Raise your... What? Don't touch her. Where do you know him from?
School.
How old are you?
18.
What do you do for a living?
I'm babysitting and I'm in school.
What about you?
What I do? I work at Safeway. That might have been why I repeated the questions you asked me.
Why, everybody at Safeway repeats questions?
It reassures me for my answer.
It's irritating.
Sorry.
What do you do?
I'm an outside vendor assistant. I purchase all our outside goods for our company.
Okay. On what night did this happen?
I believe it was the 28th of October.
Tell me what happened.
Basically that night.
Not basically. Tell me what you saw, what you heard.
Okay. Myra and her sister.
Who's Myra?
Myra's standing right to my left. Her sister is in the middle.
So you're sisters?
Yes.
Myra and her sister, you could hear, me and Matt were sitting at my house watching TV. You could hear, loud stomping on the ground, partying. They came down to my apartment and knocked on the door. And actually, I had known them before, and we were, somewhat friends. We were nice to each other and, cordial. Basically, I told them they could come in. They came in, and...
Why did they want to come in?
Just to visit, I guess.
Why did you want to go to visit in his house?
That's not true, Your Honor. We were coming home from the party, and we had invited...
Coming home from what party?
A friend's birthday party.
I thought you had people at your house.
I did. We were at a party, and then some of the people from the party came over to my place.
How many people?
Maybe 10.
So first you were at a birthday party?
Yeah.
Until what time?
Maybe like 1 o'clock.
Had they been drinking at the birthday party?
Yes, I have been drinking.
And what about you? Yes. What about the other 8 people at your house?
Some of them, not all of them.
Did you drive to the birthday party?
No.
You walked?
No, somebody drove me.
So tell me what happened when you came back to your house.
Like he said, he probably heard the footsteps and he opened the door. I had invited him to come up to my place. He came up there and we talked for a little bit. Then I went back down to his place.
Why? Is my question.
Because I didn't have any shot glasses.
And he did invite her.
Was I looking in your direction? Did they teach you that at Safeway?
No, they didn't. And no, you weren't.
You went down to his apartment.
Right.
Well, that's what he said. And you said, no, that's not right. But you did go down to his apartment.
That's correct.
And you went down to his apartment because you didn't have...
shot glasses.
Because you were continuing to drink.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she ask you to borrow shot glasses?
Honestly, I don't remember whether she did or not, but they stayed for maybe like 10 minutes, and then they kind of got like rowdy because they were drunk. They were starting to talk louder, and they said that I was mad dogging, is a quote, what they said, her boyfriend, and I don't even know who her boyfriend is.
You were mad dogging her boyfriend. I read that. What does that mean?
Like, all I asked him why he was always, like, being shady pretty much towards my boyfriend when he saw him, like looking badly at him. That's all I asked him. He got really offended about it, started arguing with me, so I started arguing back and called me and my sister a couple names. And then that's when he told us to leave. We did, and we went up to my apartment.
Okay, go ahead.
So I asked them to leave after they started saying you were mad dogging my boyfriend. The exact conversation was she said, why are you always mad dogging my boyfriend and being shady? I'm like, I don't even know what your boyfriend looks like. And I was like, and anyways, you guys are rowdy, you're drunk, if you guys can leave.
Where were you?
I was at home with our daughter at a different apartment.
What do you mean at a different apartment? You two separated?
Yeah, we're still legally married, but we're separated.
So you're here only because it was your car?
Yeah,
you didn't
we're co-owner
see
of the car.
So you didn't see anything?
No.
You weren't there that night?
We have another witness that was there that night, yes.
Okay, but you weren't there? Mm-hmm. Okay, you could sit down.
Okay.
It keeps things clear in my mind. Go ahead.
So after I had asked them to leave, that's when they started getting really mad that I was taking offense to what they said, started yelling, and they were right at my doorway, like in the doorway, and I was just, I won't lie, I said, something derogatory to them, I can't remember at the time what it was, because they weren't leaving my house. Then I shut the door, and then they repeatedly pounded on my door, swearing, saying, let us in, no, we're going to do this to you, basically assault me. And I said, I'm not going to let you in. And then within 10 seconds, I could hear because our apartments actually have a door you have to get into before you can get into all the apartments. I heard that door open. They went around to my kitchen window, picked up a rock, and threw it through my window. So I immediately called the police.
Okay, but you didn't see anybody throw the rock at your window at that point? Okay, keep going.
So when the police came, basically, I didn't see anybody throw the rock, so the police said there's no proof, so they had to leave. So about maybe 10, 20 minutes later, I'm sitting in my living room with Matt watching TV. My sliding glass door is open, and I brought a tape of my apartment, my patio, exactly where I walked out, and turned to the left because I can see my vehicle. And I seen the 3 defendants, Myra, Matthias, all standing by the car. And the reason why I got up to look to start with was because I heard a loud psh, and those were my tires being popped. So I looked out.
When you say pop with what?
I'm assuming with a knife when we took it to Les Schwab to get...
But they were slashed. It wasn't just the air being let out of the tires.
No, it had been punctured with a knife or something.
And you were there that evening, sir?
Yes.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Matthew.
Go ahead.
I was there that night. Joe noticed the loud slush sound and then asked me to come see what it was with him.
Come out where?
Out to the patio because he heard the loud noise and he told me to come out there. So I went out there and I saw those 3 slashed tires.
All 3 of them?
Yes.
Tell me exactly what you saw.
I stepped out, and then I looked over and then they were like on their knees by the tires.
All 3 of them?
Yes.
And then what happened?
So when I looked out there, I could see, obviously there's people coming around to other tires to slash the other 4. They slashed all 4. And then you can see them standing up and circling around the car. And
What did you say?
I didn't say anything because I didn't want to go out and get in an altercation with somebody and get in any kind of trouble. I immediately called 911. I was on the phone with them while I'm watching them finish scratch my car.
You have the 911 call?
I don't have the call, but I do have the police reports.
I'd like to see the police report.
They were all wearing very distinctive clothes, too. They were wearing barmaids' outfits, so it'd be very hard to mistake their identity.
Okay, now I'll hear you. Who's going to speak?
I will.
Go ahead.
After I went down to his apartment, you know, we had the argument. I went back upstairs to my apartment. He was calling us names and he was threatening to kick our butt or whatever. That's when I called the cops and they had came and, you know,
he
told
left after you had the argument and he slammed the door in your face. He started calling you names?
Yes.
From inside his apartment?
Yes, that's correct.
From inside his apartment?
He was yelling through the...
From inside his apartment?
Yes.
Okay, so you called the police?
I called the police.
Go ahead.
And they came and they told me to separate and no contact with him. We were upstairs for a little bit. We were going to 7-Eleven.
What were you going to 7-Eleven for?
Getting some food. And we had heard a broken window.
Just a second. Don't tell me what we heard. You tell me
I had
what you
heard a broken window.
Now, you were going to 7-Eleven. Where was the 7-Eleven?
Like 2 minutes away from my house.
How were you getting there?
We were driving.
Who was driving? Is not an answer.
She was driving.
The 18-year-old who was drinking.
Well, she wasn't like drunk. She had like a beer.
I had some drinks, but I wasn't.
Keep going. It's not getting happier for you.
And I heard a broken window from up in my apartment, and I didn't think anything of it because he is very violent. From the first time that he moved into our complex, his ex-wife had came up to mine and my roommate's apartment, you know, crying, saying that her and him got in a fight. She asked
Could you move on, please, to the 28th and the 29th?
All right.
I'm not interested in this social drama.
Okay, well then after that, there was a lot of people coming in and out of my apartment, and he had been talking smack to a lot of them. So a lot of them were mad.
And they overheard. Me being amongst the men, just letting you know.
So you overheard, too, all this bad stuff?
Yes.
And that made you angry?
Somewhat, yes.
Good. So that drunk and angry and leaving to go to 7-Eleven with an 18-year-old drunk driver, you went down to get your car. Is that right? Is that right?
Yes.
Right. Let's see what I have. I have you inviting 10 people to your house, all who had been drinking up until 1 o'clock in the morning. You who have said to me that, well, it is clear that somebody, because the police wrote in their report what they observed, so somebody clearly vandalized his car that night, right?
Somebody did, yes.
So it was either you or any of your guests, including him, who heard him bad-mouthing you and who got angry. That's what you just told me.
Right.
Right? You're responsible.
I'm responsible.
Yes. You're responsible. You invited these drunken people to your house. Not only did they arrive having been drinking at 1 o'clock in the morning, but according to you, you went down to his house to get shot glasses so that they could continue to drink. And if they didn't have shot glasses, they were going to drink out of their slippers. So when you invite a bunch of drunken people to your house and continue to give them alcohol, you are responsible for what they do. That's one of the prices that you pay for inviting people and providing alcohol for people who don't do the right thing. You got it? Now, not that I don't believe that you and your sister and Mr. Safeway didn't slash the tires and didn't scratch his car, because I don't believe for 1 second that you didn't do it. I believe either you did it or you importuned somebody else to do it or you participated with them. Anybody else want to say anything to me? Perfect. Young ladies drinking is always very unattractive. Very unattractive. Now, men drinking can be unattractive, but there is nothing more unattractive than a woman who drinks and who can't control her mouth and then can't control their actions. I'm not talking for Mr. Safeway here. Mr. Safeway knows exactly what he did that day. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,319. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Obviously, I could identify them. They were wearing distinctive outfits, barmaids' outfits.
He didn't see anything, so I don't know why he said we did it.
And they don't lie about it. It's their problem, not mine.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Dos Santos versus Spearman, step forward, please.
22-year-old Jennifer Dos Santos is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old Dwayne Spearman, for the cost of a plane ticket to Lisbon, Portugal.
This used to be your boyfriend. He's not your boyfriend anymore.
That's correct.
You and your family, I assume your family, were going to Portugal to visit relatives. It is your claim that you laid out money for him to go on that family trip with the understanding that he was going to pay you back.
That's correct.
Mr. Spearman says there was never an agreement to pay you back for the trip. You wanted him to accompany you. You wanted him to meet your family. And he didn't have the money, so you agreed to pay for it.
Yes.
Well, tell me about the agreement that you had with him, Mr. Santos.
I had spoken to him about possibly going, and I had wanted him to go. And he had always told me that he wanted to go to Europe, and he had wanted to visit several places in Europe. So I suggested for him to come with me, and he wanted to. So I purchased a plane ticket, and he had always told me that he was going to pay me back.
Why didn't he purchase the plane ticket?
He did not have a credit card, I believe, and he didn't have enough money to purchase it himself.
So he had no money?
Yeah, not at all.
Well, how could he go on a trip if he had no money?
Well, he had just started working in a new job, and he said that he was going to pay me back when he got the money.
Did you agree to pay her back?
Never.
Well, tell me how it happened, Mr. Spearman.
Well, we were dating on and off, and she originally went to see her parents down there. So she had the ticket to go down there. Well, we were broken up. We got back together. That's why she was going down there when I went. Sorry, a little nervous.
Try looking at me.
Sorry.
That'll make you even more nervous.
I know.
Go ahead.
I had to get the time off work at first, which I didn't think I was going to be able to do. When they said I could have the time off, I told her, all right, I could come, but I don't have the money. I have a bank statement that shows I didn't have any money. I was in the negatives.
She agrees you had no money.
Yes. She told everyone she was going to pay for me. She told my witness. She told my parents. Even on her live journal, I have a paper that says that she would pay for the plane ticket. I was like, why not?
Well, first let me see the paper that says she's going to pay for the plane ticket. Well, it absolutely says, I bought his plane ticket. He's visiting for 7 days. This is so blank. Fabulous. I want to show him so much blank. So much to do, so little time to do it. I have a good feeling about this.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I have a conversation that took place between both of us stating that he would pay me back.
I'd like to see it.
I highlighted some of the main parts, and there's 2 screen names listed. I don't know if you can figure it out.
He says, I said I'll pay you back eventually. I'm doing that for myself. Technically, though, I didn't want to go. You offered, I said yes. I'd win. It's your word against mine. But then you do agree to pay her back, sir, right?
He just kept hounding me. No, that was the first time I had spoken to him since we broke up. And then I spoke to him afterwards, and he had told me that after that conversation took place, and he said he was not going to pay me back. She's only doing this out of spite, though. There's no
She
just wanted me to go. After we broke up, that's the only time this ever came about.
I tend to believe you.
Your Honor, may I see that for a second?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I
Yes.
step up and say something?
Absolutely.
I was
First,
there.
tell me your name.
I'm Andrew Palua. I was there the day that they told me that they were going to Portugal, and I kept on making jokes, you know, he's in debt, he can't afford it. She blatantly said it was a gift, and he did not have to pay her back on many occasions.
Just a second. Didn't you hear what I just said? I know that you had something that you were dying to get out and dying to say. But is there anything different from what you said than what I just said?
No.
Then you can sit down. Thank you very much. I have other things to do today. Have you looked at that now?
Yes, I actually had a comment about it.
Go ahead.
I mean, I'm not denying it, but any person, I know 9th graders that could type this up and then bring
No,
it
but
to court.
I don't think 9th graders, I got news for you. I couldn't
have the
type it up on that machine,
Sorry.
whatever that machine is. And I've had more than a 9th grade education. The question is, did you in fact write it?
Yes.
Fine.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't think it should be used in court, though, because anybody could lie.
Well,
I'm not gonna, it's not in me to lie, that's
listen
why.
to me. Listen to me. If you had said to me, Mr. Spearman, I didn't write that, then I would say, well, you have to prove that he wrote that. But you did.
Yes.
I believe she wanted you to go. I believe she had a good feeling about your relationship, and she wanted to share the European experience with someone that she cared about. I believe that after you broke up, when you came back, then, Mr. Spearman, you're probably a man of good conscience, and you agreed to pay her, right?
Yes.
Now, how much was the ticket?
$1,101.
Okay. And I tell you right now that the expenses that you had while you were in Portugal were limited. Your parents took you out for most of the meals that you were there, and whatever other money that you spent, you spent. But I believe he has the responsibility to pay you back for his airplane ticket. You agree with that, sir?
No, but I respect it.
I'm glad, because that email, or whatever that is, that conversation that you had, suggests that you are a man of good character. You don't want me to think otherwise, do you?
No.
Great. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,101. That's all.
All right, Judge, you may step out. Yeah, it's case number 82 on the calendar in the matter of Garbolinski versus Heckroth.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Garbolinski, this gentleman used to be your boyfriend. You lived together for a period of time. It is your claim that while drunk, he drove your car and crashed it.
That is
and
true.
Also endangered your child, who he took with him. Mr. Heckroth says it was you who drove the car, probably had a blackout and don't remember, crashed the car, and are now blaming it on him. How long did you live together?
About 4.5 months.
In your home or his home?
Yes, in my home. I paid all the bills.
Okay. What kind of work do you do, Mr. Heckroth?
I'm a detailer at a car wash.
How long have you been detailing cars?
Since January.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
Prior to January, Mr. Heckroth, when you started detailing cars, what were you doing? It's not an answer.
I can't remember.
Well, it's not so long ago. Do you suffer from any debilitating disease?
No.
Then what were you doing prior to January?
I did nothing.
What do you want to be when you grow up, Mr. Heckroth?
Actually, there's a couple things. A correctional facility guard or an animal cop for Houston or Detroit.
And what are you doing to further that career goal?
I have every GED book there is, and I study on my time off.
So you have to get your GED first?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Garbolinski, tell me when this incident happened with your car.
This happened about March 12th.
Now tell me what happened on or about March 12th with your car.
Well, Matthew had some friends over, and they were sitting in the living room. I told him I was going to bed about 10 o'clock.
What were the names of his friends who were over?
Jenny and Lance.
Okay, go ahead.
And I told him that I was going to sleep because I take sleeping pills for insomnia. So I took a sleeping pill, went to bed. My son was in his room playing video games. I woke up the next morning and saw that my car was smashed. I walked in the house and asked him what had happened. And he hesitated for a minute, and he said he didn't want to tell me because I had to get up early in the morning, and he smashed the car.
That is a lie.
Don't speak, Mr. Heckroth.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I asked him how it happened. He said that he took off with my car last night with my son, which I'm very upset about because my son could have been injured.
Where did he go? Where did he tell you?
He went to drop off his friends.
Okay. Put your hand down. You'll come to your turn, Mr. Heckroth.
Okay.
I wish you were so vigorous about finding a future.
Okay, that is a...
Go ahead.
And when I woke up in the morning, I saw that my car was smashed. I asked him what had happened.
You told me that already.
Okay.
I have a very good memory. Heckroth doesn't have a good memory, but I have a good memory. Okay, so...
And that's about what happened.
Can I see pictures of the car, please?
Yes, you may.
Mr. Heckroth, what are the last names of these two people, Jenny and Lance?
The last name of Lance is Quintel. He's my cousin.
And Jenny?
And Jenny is her friend, so that's a lie, Your Honor. She was there that night, too, but it was her friend.
Okay.
And I would never drive with a kid in the car. That's absurd. Okay.
Now, Lance was your friend?
My cousin, yes.
Your cousin. And how did he get to your house?
He,
Look at me.
Yes, he walked that night.
Walked. What's his telephone number?
989-04.
So he walked to your house from where?
I don't know where he came from. He lived down the road, or I'm not sure how he got there. But he stayed the night that night.
And where did he stay when he stayed the night?
On the couch.
So he was there in the morning?
Right.
Does he work?
No. He just had surgery on his arm.
What kind of surgery did he have on his arm?
I'm not sure. He had a broken arm. It required a rod put in.
Oh, so he can't drive?
No, he can't.
So he walked from somewhere down the road?
Yes.
Do you know where his cousin lives somewhere down the road? Just answer my question.
He lives all over.
He lives all over. What does that mean?
He is like Matthew.
Sort of falls down wherever he can.
Yep.
Now, Jenny, he says Jenny is your friend.
We were friends, but she pulled a lot of stunts with different people, and I don't care to talk to her anymore. She did come over that night, and her and Lance both went home that night because I told Matthew I didn't want anybody in my house after I went to bed.
So Jenny was your friend?
She was my friend at the time, yes.
Does she have a cell phone?
No, she does not have a cell phone. She has a home phone.
What's her home phone number?
1-989.
Okay. Now, Mr. Heckroth, now you're going to tell me your version of these events.
Okay. I had to work early in the morning that night. So I went to sleep while Melissa, her friend Jennifer, and my cousin partied while her son was in the room. But I was laying in bed awake when she took her friend home. Lance was in the car too. She took her friend Jennifer home, and they said they were going to the bar, but they showed up late that night, and then she woke up the next morning flipping out about her car, which I knew nothing about because I had to be to work that early that morning.
And both Jenny and Lance are going to corroborate the fact that Miss Garbolinski took them home. Is that right?
Yes.
When I called them?
Yes.
Both of them?
Yes. That's why Jennifer was her first witness, but wouldn't come to lie for her.
Why didn't she come to testify for you?
Because I wanted to come by myself.
Why?
Because my first witness couldn't come because of surgery, so I just came by myself.
Why couldn't he come because of surgery?
He has a big rod on his arm and probably just don't feel like it. Didn't feel like coming.
But you asked him to come?
Yes.
And you asked Jenny to come?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. I didn't need Jennifer to come because she took Jennifer home in the car, so I don't know.
All right, let's go find out.
Okay.
Is this Jenny? Jenny? This is Judge Judy Scheinlin. How are you? I have a question to ask you. I'm trying a case, and I want you to think back to March 12th of this year, okay? Do you remember when you were at the Garbolinski-Heckroth home? Okay. How did you get there that evening? You were dropped off. By whom? By Matt. Who took you home? Okay. And was Lance in the car? Were you in the car when the accident occurred? Tell me how the accident occurred. Okay. Fine. I appreciate the information. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. You gave me a wrong number, sir. Lance's number. Repeat it again.
989-204.
Wrong number. Belongs to a Connie and Don.
Connie and Dennis, that is his parents that he's staying with because of his arms.
Jenny doesn't seem to remember her in the car at all, sir. Jenny only remembers you in the car. And Jenny can tell me exactly what happened with that accident. Exactly what happened with that accident.
I was not in the car. There was no accident. If there was an accident, there would be a report or...
Not if you were drunk. And not if you were in an accident with a truck. And according to Jenny, the truck driver said no big deal for the truck, and you were just as happy just to drive away because as far as you were concerned, she was driving. Ugh. How old are you?
I am 28, going to be 29 in June.
A, he's too young for you. B, he's too stupid for you. C, you've already clearly made one mistake because you have a 9-year-old child, so that was a relationship that was a mistake, right?
Yes.
You're going to pick somebody else to live with, pick somebody who has a future, who has a life.
Somebody that can help
who's
me around.
mature, who's not a baby, and who most of all is not a liar. Now, can I see the estimates on the car, please?
There's two different ones there, Your Honor.
Can I say something, please, Your Honor?
Yes.
The pictures are from when she crashed her car. They're not even the right date of the accident.
Oh, well, why don't you tell me what the right date of the accident is?
I have no idea. Because I
For
wasn't
the
driving.
plaintiff for the amount of $2,108. That's all. Step out.
Please excuse you, Miss Step out.
They went to the bar after being at the house.
I have a restricted license. I can't drive after 9 p.m.
She really didn't care because she drove the car in the first place.
Obviously, somebody had to drive my car to get in the accident, and it wasn't me.
It's fine. I'm going to mind my business and move on.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Munoz versus Milosadov. Step forward.
22-year-old Christina Munoz is suing her former friend, 21-year-old Erica Miloserdorf, for accidentally killing her Maltese puppy when she fell on her.
Miss Miloserdorf, you had a terrible accident with the plaintiff's puppy. You want to tell me what happened?
I went to visit the plaintiff in
Your
Vegas.
friends?
My friends for the weekend. And we were outside. She went to go get her mail. We took her little Maltese dog, Isis. And when we came back, she asked me to watch her dog, left me responsible to watch the dog when she went upstairs to put the mail away. I was playing with the dog outside. The dog went under my leg. The leash wrapped around my ankle, and I tripped and I fell on top of the dog. Unfortunately, it collapsed the dog's ribs and punctured the dog's lungs, and it died on the way to the hospital.
And you want her to pay for the dog?
Yes.
And?
I don't think it's fair. It's an accident that happened. It's a responsibility that shouldn't have been left on me. I was watching it as a favor for her while she went upstairs.
You could have declined.
I could have, but I didn't because I didn't even think anything was going to happen.
Of course not. Let me ask you this question. What's your first name?
Erica.
Erica. How did you get to your friend's house?
I drove.
Let's say instead of the dog wrapping itself around your legs, you accidentally ran over her dog with your car.
It'd still be an unfortunate accident, but maybe then I'd feel responsible. But this is an accident. I accidentally fell and tripped over.
You mean
the
it was a
dog.
double accident?
Yeah.
Well, you're responsible. You're walking this puppy on the leash. You're holding the puppy on the leash. It's your responsibility to see to it that the puppy doesn't entwine itself around your legs. You didn't mean for it to happen. You were trying to pay attention, I assume, but you didn't do a good enough job.
But it wasn't my responsibility.
It
though.
was your responsibility. You assumed the responsibility. Now, sometimes things happen that you have no control over. But in this case, you had control over it. It was due to your negligence that the puppy got entwined in your leg. The puppy can't think about that. You're supposed to think about it. I really am trying to explain it to you so that you'll understand it, because I don't think that you are a bad person. I just think that you are misguided. So I'm trying to give you guidance. How much was the puppy?
It was $14.99.
Did you replace her?
Well, we got a gift from my parents saying that we got a new Maltipoo. So it wasn't the full Maltese, it was the Maltese and the poodle.
They're cute.
They are cute. They are very cute. But, I mean, the Maltese was a purebred compared to now it's a half-breed, so.
Well, Maltese and poodles are wonderful little dogs because they have a great coat that you don't have to deal with as much, right?
Yes.
And they don't yap as much.
No, she does not bark at all.
Right.
Yeah.
I had Maltese.
Oh.
I know. They bark all the time. All the time. Anyway, you owe the price of the dog, $1,499 judgment for the plaintiff. Are you still friends?
Probably not after this.
Well, you should be. It was an accident.
Yeah, it was an accident.
It was an accident. It's an accident that she was responsible for, but it was still an accident.
Yes.
That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 132 on the calendar in the matter of Abishan versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Thank you, Bert. Miss Abishan, how long were you and the defendant together as a couple?
About 5.5 months.
Did he move in with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you meet him?
I met him when I was finishing college in Kentucky. He then moved back with me to Minnesota.
Mr. Wilson, when you moved back with Miss Abishan to Minnesota, what were you doing for a living, sir?
I got down there and I started work for DirecTV.
In what month did you move to Minnesota?
It was 2 days before Christmas.
So let's say January. And when did you get the job with DirecTV?
It was about a month after Christmas.
February?
Yes.
How long did you have the job?
Until I come back to Kentucky.
And when was that?
In the middle of March.
Well, then you weren't working very long, sir.
Right.
Who was supporting you?
My parents would send me money, help me out.
I'm talking about her. Was she supporting you?
It'd go either way. I had money too.
Where did you have money from?
My parents, like I say, they would send me money.
How old are you, Mr. Wilson?
I'm 23. I'll be 24.
If I let you.
I hope you'll let me.
All of these things, my questions have a reason, Mr. Wilson.
Okay.
This is your complaint. You foolishly, very foolishly, put a down payment on a truck or
Yes, Your
something
Honor.
for him. And there was an agreement that he was going to pay you back for it because he didn't have any what?
Transportation or money.
Because he didn't have any money.
Right.
Otherwise, he would have put the down payment on his own truck. So evidently his parents, because he acknowledges that you put the down payment on the truck for him, right? I read your papers. And if you had money of your own, then you wouldn't have needed money from her. You're smarter than you look, sir. Now, 2 weeks after you bought him this truck, he goes back to Kentucky to deal with some legal issues, according to him, having to do with his child.
That ended up being
I'm
false.
speaking.
Excuse me.
And his child said, "Oh, Daddy, don't leave." So he decided to leave and dump you and go back to the mother of his child and his child because he couldn't say no to his baby. And he kept your truck. That's after 2 weeks.
Yes,
and how
ma'am.
much did you lay out?
$3,500.
You know, your looks are deceiving, sir. What?
$3,500, Your Honor.
No. There were also payments due on this truck.
Yes, Your Honor.
He moved back in the middle of March to Kentucky. Did he make the March payment on the truck?
No, ma'am, he did not.
I see, shh, just a second. I see a whole lot of blank space on your table, Mr. Wilson. You say in your answer that you made the truck payments. You left, according to you, the second week in March. Show me the March payment that you made.
I ain't got no evidence of nothing. She come and got the truck without my knowledge. Right in the middle of the day.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You have evidence, sir, because you would have proof that you made the truck payment in March.
Nothing was due. There was no payments due on that truck.
I have a check, Your Honor.
I just had purchased. We just had purchased that truck. Like I say, we just had purchased
You mean
that
you
truck.
purchased it, they made you a gift?
No, it's not a gift. It wasn't. There was no payments due on it.
When was the first payment due?
Whenever we bought the truck, like 3 weeks before, and I hadn't had a chance to pay the payment on it because she come and got it.
You didn't have a chance.
Exactly.
Your Honor, I have a check for
Can I see
March.
it, please?
Yes, ma'am. My mother wrote it out of account that we had shared together. Yes, Your Honor.
We do this according to the way I run this playpen, okay? Check is dated the 21st of March, so I assume for $271.75. You don't have another check that you made, do you, sir?
No.
In March? No. No. Then you went down because you didn't make the payment. And very wisely, I might add, decided not to be involved with this man anymore because now your credit is on the line because there are payments due on this car.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you and your mom, according to your papers, went down and repossessed the car.
Yes.
And sold it.
Yes.
Sold it at a loss.
Yes.
And what you want is the money that you spent on him for this truck. How much did you sell the truck for?
Sold the truck for $10,500. Had $11.86 left on the truck to be paid.
All right, so what's the deficit?
About $1,300.
Okay. That's a cheap lesson. Now, when, Miss Aubuchon, when you went down to repossess the truck, did you give him any notice that he had the opportunity to make up any of these?
Yes, Your Honor. I asked him if he would please return the truck to me. I even offered to buy him a plane ticket back to Kentucky from Minnesota if he would do that.
And what did he say to you?
He said, I'll do it, and then he would not call me back. I wouldn't be able to get a hold of him for several weeks at a time.
When did you first call him?
I called him...
Mr. Wilson, this smirk is irritating. Go ahead.
I was explaining this to him about a week after he left once I realized that he would not be returning.
When he left to go to Kentucky?
Yes.
When did he notify you that he would not be coming back?
It was about a week after he left. He told me that he wasn't going to be coming back due to his baby and missing his family. At that point, I said, I'll give you the opportunity to make the truck payment. If you do not, it will be going against my credit as well, and I will have to retrieve the truck.
And when did you have the discussion with him?
That discussion with him was had about a week after he left, originally.
Which was when?
It would have been the very end of February, first week of March. I also have credit card charges, Your Honor, which would indicate when he returned back to Kentucky.
I'd like to see them, please. The second part of your claim is that he overdrew a joint checking account that you had. And quite frankly, I'm far more interested in that than this truck problem because
Yes, Your
the
Honor.
truck was an unfortunate exercise for you.
Right.
You got most of your money back.
Right.
the $1,300 is probably a reasonable lesson that you'll never do it again.
Well, the down payment I never got back.
The down payment you did get back, madam, when you sold it. If anything, there was one payment due. I mean, it was a wise thing for you to do. Otherwise, you would have been responsible for the whole thing. But no bank would have gone after him after
But I
a week.
gave him the opportunity to
No bank
pay
would have gone after him after a week. And in all probability, he would not have made these payments. There's no question he wouldn't have made these payments from a moral perspective. But from a legal perspective, if you own a car and you finance it, and if you're 4 days late with a payment, they do not come after you and repossess the car. They don't do it.
Right.
Let's hear about the money in your checking account.
Okay. We opened this joint checking account because I was supporting Mr. Wilson. I gave him a card of his own. Once he started making money, his checks were going to be directly deposited into that account so that we could pay bills together, so on and so forth. When he left, that account was emptied. I foolishly did not
just
close
a second.
it.
When he left, the account was emptied by you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And how much was in the account?
At the time, there was about $1,500 in the account.
Okay. And at the time, Mr. Wilson had been working for about a month.
Correct.
How much money did you put into the account, Mr. Wilson?
Probably about $700.
Okay, fine. And then, according to the plaintiff, Mr. Wilson, you made charges against her bank credit for $2,000. Why did you do that, sir?
I don't think I made that much.
Why did you make any?
I don't think I made about maybe $300, and I figured my money was in there.
Well, let's see how much money. How much money did he charge on the debit card?
I believe the total is about $2,300.
Not about. Figure it out, because then you're going to show it to Mr. Wilson. You need a calculator?
I may need a calculator. There's quite a bit.
Stand over next to her while she's adding this up so you save me a little bit of time, Mr. Wilson. Listen to me, Miss Aubuchon.
Thank you. Yes, Your Honor.
Show him the charge, add it on the calculator. Press on.
Okay.
I know enough about the machine to know they have to press on.
This is the ladder. This is the advance for credit card for food and gas when you left town, food and gas in Kentucky, when you ordered stuff in order to set up your new business in Kentucky, more food and gas, and the Dell computer.
And what do we have as a total?
We have $2,130, I believe.
Looks like $16.05 on your computer.
This is wrong. That was the difference.
Step back over and don't be a smart mouth. Can I see it, please?
Sure.
Give me the computer. Let him stand right there next to you.
Okay. So unless the decimal is in the wrong place, it should be about $1,595 that I've now added up. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, Mr. Wilson, you've gone over those charges. That should be your computer in Kentucky, your business in Kentucky, the food and gas in Kentucky. Gone over those charges?
Yes.
Is that right? $1,595?
I don't think so.
Well, how much is it, sir? Here, just a second. Let's do... You add it.
I don't need no calculator. I mean, I really don't.
No, listen to me. Then add it up in your head. Add it up in your head. What?
600.
No. Add up those figures, sir. Give the piece of paper to Smartmouth. Read over the figures that she just added, sir. Come on.
Well, at the time, you know, from Minnesota, Kentucky.
Listen, from Minnesota to Kentucky, give me the charges. Let's go.
Let me see your calculator then. This calculator ain't right.
Can I have the calculator, please? I've been using it for 11 years. Okay. Now, what I want you to do, Miss Aubuchon, this is a challenge. I want you to say the charge, tell me what it was for,
okay,
and the amount.
Okay. There was a ladder charged at Menards, $220.85.
Don't give me any change.
Okay.
Just round it out to the last
Yes,
dollar.
Your Honor.
$225?
Yep. Advance from credit card, $150. Skywalker Communications, $175. Food and gas in Kentucky, $50. Advance from credit card, $1,000. I'm sorry, I missed that originally. And the Dell computer, $807.
Where's the computer, sir?
I sent it back whenever she notified me about it.
Send it back to whom?
Dale, a long time ago.
Is there a credit?
I was never credited for that, Your Honor.
You owe her $2,407. You got it? Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,407. Listen, Miss Aubuchon,
yes,
you made a mistake.
Yes, Your Honor.
Don't make another mistake.
I won't, Your Honor.
Good. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thought I was going to steal my kid.
I was very surprised.
She was very upset.
The quickest I ever got over anyone.
Everybody messes up.
I will be more careful about my choices of partners in life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Castleberry versus Watson, step forward.
Carpenter Jeffrey Castleberry is suing his former boss, Megan Watson, for non-payment of services rendered. Megan says Jeffrey's work was substandard.
Mr. Castleberry, you worked for the defendant in her construction business. You quit over some social problem that you had. It seems that you were dating her sister. According to you, got into some sort of a kerfuffle with her sister and decided it would be best if you didn't work with her anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
So you quit. And you claim at the time that you quit, you were owed wages. Miss Watson seems to acknowledge that you were owed wages, but she said that you took some tools that belonged to her and didn't return them, but primarily that she went and examined the work that you had done and found it to be substandard, and she had to arrange to have that work done by somebody else, so she doesn't owe you any money. And she's counterclaiming for the tools and having to have the work redone. It's a little nonsense. Not the tools necessarily, but having to have the work redone is nonsense. When did he start to work for you?
About the middle of March of 2007.
And what was the financial arrangement that you had with him?
He got paid on the jobs once I got paid on the jobs. It was
Is
a
that how-
percentage of each job.
Is that how you were paid, sir? A percentage of each job?
I don't know if it's a percentage. It was a set rate for each job. When she was paid for it, she would write me a check and she would attach one of these pay statements, which has the check number, the date, how much I was paid, which job it was, and what I did. And each time she gave, she would give, this was the first one and second, etc.
Okay, can I have it, please? And when did you quit, sir? On what date?
April 2nd.
So you only worked there a couple of weeks. Were you paid this last one? This
Yes.
pay statement, April 3rd?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were paid on this?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were paid on this?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's for all the time that you worked there?
That was for the other jobs, yes.
For the other jobs. Had you ever had a discussion with her about any work that you did while you were working for her that was unsatisfactory?
No, ma'am.
So any work that you did pursuant to that list that you had and work that you completed, you got one of these and you were paid for it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, give me the figures on the work that you did that you were not paid for.
$355.
Okay. But he did do this $355 worth of work.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you owe him $355.
Yes, ma'am. There's another job that he did an estimate on for me, and per his estimate, the door was wrong. I had to pay someone else to correct the work that from where he estimated the door being wrong.
You mean he measured it wrong?
Yes, ma'am. It was too small.
Show him.
Mr. Moore's door that you measured, and you said it was a 6-0 door.
Mm-hmm.
The rough opening on that door was...
The door that we both measured.
You measured that door.
We both
Just
measured.
a second. You said that you measured it and she measured it?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
As we measured the door...
Who's we?
Her and I.
You were there together?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you there together?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, then you have a problem. You're the construction boss.
Yes, ma'am.
So?
I did measure the door. I wrote the information down that he gave me and consulted
Were
with the
you
customer.
there?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, then you should have checked him a little bit better. You owe him $355. Now, are you angry with him for some reason?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Because he stole some of my tools, and I have
Okay.
the receipts for those.
Tell me what tools he stole.
I have a reciprocating saw that I purchased right here.
Do you
that
have
I
that?
no longer have.
No, ma'am.
Where is it?
I never had any of her tools. As a matter of fact, some of my tools were left at her parents' house, and after I quit, I asked if she could meet me up the street to get my tools. She let me get the tools out of the back of her truck, which was my saw, and I had a bucket with my tools in it. And she was present when I did that.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, but I believe my tools were in his bucket because we worked out of the same truck.
Well, what do you mean you believe?
because I no longer have my tools as of the day I
Well, is
gave
that what
him
makes
back
you think
his.
he has them?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not proof, madam, of anything. Who is this?
This is my sister.
This is the one that you were dating?
Yes, ma'am.
Didn't work out?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You owe him $355. It didn't work out. You have to pay for the work. You know, it's not always a good idea to go to work for relatives.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, it tends to be messy. But, Miss Watson, what I have before me are statements of when he worked for you, what you paid him, and it appears that until there was this brouhaha with your sister, his work was fine. The only time that his work became unsatisfactory is when there was a problem. So I find that a little suspect. You have to pay him the $355 that you owe him. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step down. This is case number 78 on the calendar in the matter of Windhausen versus Speakman.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Windhausen, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time, and it is your claim that at the time she broke up with you and told you to leave, she kept your property. She kept the truck that you had been making payments on and some other personal property that you had purchased for the house.
Correct.
Ms. Speakman said everything is hers.
Yes.
When did you move in together?
About 6 of 04.
June of 04.
Right.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
How old are you?
34.
You have children?
No.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Windhausen?
I'm a welder.
How long have you been welding?
About a year and a half now.
Make good living?
Decent. It's fair.
Tell me what you make.
I'm about $14.50.
An hour?
An hour, yes.
How much did you make last year?
How much did I make last year? About $12,338.
You worked full-time?
Yes, I did work full-time. I got laid off in December of 05, and I was rehired back on, so I had
When?
it in February.
But other than that, you work continuously?
Correct.
And what did you do with your money?
What did I do with my money?
Why do you keep asking me a question? I know the question that I asked. What did you do with your money when you got your money, when you were living with Miss Speakman?
I cashed my checks at the U.S. Bank, and I went and paid it to, just gave her cash.
Well, how much cash did you give her?
Approximately about $340 per week.
It was different every week.
Tell me about this truck.
This truck, I needed a vehicle to get back and forth to work. I did not have one. I wasn't able to put one in my name because my credit wasn't the greatest. And at the time, I was working on getting a work permit to make a commute back and forth to work.
What did your bad credit have to do with getting a work permit, Mr. Windhausen?
Because I wasn't able to put the truck in my name.
Did you have a driver's license?
I did not. I just had a work.
Well, that's an answer why you can't have a truck in your name, sir.
Correct.
So you were going to drive this truck despite the fact that you didn't have a license?
No, until I got my work permit.
Did you drive the truck without
I did,
a license?
Yes.
So Miss Speakman put the truck in her name and allowed you to drive it without a license?
Correct.
Put your hand down, I'll get to you. Okay. And who made the payments on the truck?
I did.
How much were the payments every month?
Approximately about $340 a month.
$340 a month? It's exactly
insurance.
the same amount that you gave her. You said a week. That's a number you must like. You told me you gave her $340 a week when you cashed your paycheck, and now you tell me that your truck payment was $340.
That was excluding making the payments on the refrigerator and the stove and the bedroom set.
Just a second. How much was the truck payment?
About $340.
And how much did you used to give her every week from your paycheck?
Around $340, yes.
Wrong.
He's got it down, and he's not going to waver. And how did you make the truck payment?
I gave it to her in cash.
Now, because we're just dealing with the truck so far, when did you kick him out?
July 7th of 06.
Why?
Because I found out he was doing drugs. He actually, July 1st is actually when we broke up. He couldn't get a ride until July 7th. He stole $400 out of my purse. Said he was going to the store to get ice and didn't come back for like 12 hours because he was doing drugs.
What kind of drugs does he do?
Cocaine.
Have you ever seen him do cocaine?
No, I haven't. He told me.
What did he say?
A couple months prior, he took a lot of money. We had a joint checking account for a little while because I went to get money out and all the money was gone. Well, then I questioned him about it, and he finally told me that he was doing cocaine, that he had a drug problem, and then he didn't want to tell me what the drug was, and then he finally told me it was cocaine.
How much money did he take out of the joint account?
About $1,500.
Do you remember when?
It was March and April. He did it on 2 different occasions where he took hundreds of dollars out a couple times. I mean, hundreds, like $600 a night.
It's not true.
No?
No.
Don't do drugs.
No, I don't.
You willing to take a drug test?
I am willing, yes.
Willing to take a hair follicle test?
That's fine.
Right after court?
It's fine.
You understand that if you go for one of these tests, they will, and if it's positive, they won't let you be a welder. You understand that?
Correct.
You prepared to sign a release that the drug test results can be sent to your employer? Oh, is not an answer.
I have smoked weed, yes.
Weed
So-
we're not talking about, sir. We're talking cocaine.
All right.
Got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Perfect. If you have a problem and you're 24 years old, you better get rid of your problem. Do enough cocaine, so you're going to have a brain like mush. You know, when you start up here, you can have a brain like mush. When you start over here, it's over very, very soon. How could you take money out of a bank account?
It's my money, too.
Well, if you're putting in $300 a week to run a household, you have rent, you have food, you have gas, you have electric, you have all the other stuff. And was he giving you an extra $340 for the truck payment?
No, he wasn't. He gave me, his checks were different every week. So he gave, sometimes it was only $100. Sometimes he didn't give me any money at all.
Yeah, because if he's making $15 an hour, earning $12,000 a year just doesn't,
well, that was
doesn't make it.
The truck payment was $320, and it did come directly out of my bank account ever since I bought
Well,
the
it
truck.
may have come directly out of your bank account. That doesn't mean, quite frankly, Ms. Speakman, that he wasn't giving you money. My question is, was he giving you money earmarked for this car payment, or was he giving you a certain amount of money every week?
It was different amounts every week because, like I said, sometimes his checks were always different. Sometimes he would give me nothing. Sometimes he would give me $100. There was a couple times he probably gave me $300.
And what about the monthly truck payment?
What?
Did he give you money for the
Directly
monthly
for
truck
that?
payment?
No.
In cash is my question.
No.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious, how could she make the payment for a car payment, a truck payment, a house payment, and all the other utilities if I was not paying any money to that household?
She didn't say you weren't paying any money.
But how could she afford
I make
those
a lot
vehicles?
more money than he does.
What kind of work do you do, Ms. Speakman?
I work at a factory.
And how much do you earn an hour?
$22 an hour.
And how much did you earn last year?
$50,000.
And you were earning $15 an hour, which is, you know, only a third less, and you only made $12,338, sir. That figure that you told me specifically, $12,338 was what you said you earned last year. Only 2 months you were out of work. Ms. Speakman.
Yes.
What did you do with the truck?
I still have the truck. I'm still making payments on the truck.
What are you going to do with the truck?
I'm probably going to keep it.
Now, if Mr. Wendhausen is prepared to get a loan for $5,000 in his name, are you prepared to give him the truck?
No.
Sure. Sure you are. Listen to me, Mr. Wendhausen. You come back to me with a fully committed loan in your name for $5,000, and I will direct Ms. Speakman to turn over the truck to you. Do you understand?
I do.
But she certainly doesn't want to give you a truck that's in her name, and she's certainly not going to give you the value of it or what you claim to put in, because you can't prove what you put in to the truck unless you have canceled checks.
No, I paid everything cash. Yes.
Right. So go get yourself a loan, and then Miss Speakman is going to turn over the truck to you. You think that's going to happen, Miss Speakman?
I don't think he'll be able to get a loan.
Correct. Correct. But if he can.
But what about I've paid it, like for the whole year that he hasn't been there?
It was sort of a fluid situation. Right. But I certainly don't think that you ought to get stuck with this truck and turn it over to him. And I certainly don't believe that he, each and every month, paid you his portion of the expenses as well as the $340 for the truck, because he didn't make that much money.
Right.
Now, what other property do you claim, sir, is yours that she kept when you
I
moved
have a
out?
GE. range stove that I
When
purchased.
did you purchase that, sir?
I purchased it in about 11:05.
And you moved out in
7/06.
And did you eat while you were there?
I did, yes.
And did you use the stove?
I only had it for about a month or two before I moved out.
Show me proof that you purchased it, sir.
It's right here.
He just said we got the stove in November and he moved out in July. So
I got
okay.
it.
Okay. Thank you.
I see it's purchased by you, Mark Wendhausen.
Right.
Show me how you paid for it.
I paid cash.
I have a check.
Can I see it, please?
These are the 2 payments I made. These are the 4 payments that were made total.
Okay. She's got proof of the payments, sir.
Proof of the payments that I paid?
Well, show me your payments. It doesn't say that this was paid in cash.
I paid those payments, ma'am.
To whom?
To Turner Electric.
Show
in
me.
cash. Don't you see there's cash? She writes checks. I pay cash.
What else, Mr. Wendhausen?
I also have receipts here for refrigerator.
When you moved into the house, Mr. Wendhausen, was there a refrigerator in the house?
Yes. Can you please tell me where all my money was going?
All your $12,000?
Well, I lived there for two and a half years.
All your $12,000?
His money was going up his nose. Mine
Just a
was
second.
paying the bill.
Mr. Wendhausen, I don't think that you understand, sir. That barely supports a person. You don't get it.
I'm not getting it. I'm making payments that, you know.
Show me that you're still making payments.
I'm done. Those are the receipts. That's paid off.
And you paid for it, and you used the refrigerator, and you used the stove while you were in her house?
Yeah, it's my
Goodbye,
name.
Mr. Wendhausen.
Do you think I could
I
take
think you have a problem, and I think that you really have to take care of your problem. If you manage to secure a loan for the truck, I am going to direct Ms. Speakman to turn the truck over to you. We will recalendar this case as soon as the clerk receives indication that you've received a loan, and I will direct this truck that you want to be turned over to you. Do you understand?
Okay, I do, but...
Good. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just think the case was unfair, and it's bull.
The money started disappearing, and I found out he was doing drugs.
That is not true.
I told him to try to get help, and he didn't get help, so I kicked him out after he stole $400 out of my purse.
Whatever, man.
I probably won't be going out with younger guys anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mixon versus Glade, step forward, please.
James Mixon is suing his former live-in girlfriend, Keisha Glade, for the return of his furniture and baseball cards.
Mr. Mixon, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time in her home.
Yes.
And according to you, she unceremoniously kicked you out and kept some furniture that belongs to you.
Yes.
You want it back. Ms. Glade says that you were nothing but a lazy bum during the time that you lived there. You paid no rent. Least you could do is leave the old furniture there. It's not worth very much anyway. She is counterclaiming. She says that you should have paid rent, but you didn't, and that you slashed her tires because you got mad at her. So let me make this simple. The fact that he should have paid rent, you are absolutely correct. But that doesn't mean he's going to pay rent because you allowed him to be a bum.
True.
So you were an enabler. How long did he live with you?
For a year and a month.
And how many months of those 13 months that he lived with you did he pay rent?
None.
None? Why are you laughing?
Because that was funny.
No, she's not funny. I'm funny.
Yeah.
How many months did you pay rent, Mr. Mixon?
None, like she said.
You were a bum.
No.
Well, if you don't pay rent, you're a bum.
We never had an agreement on
You
that.
don't have to have an agreement.
I was supposed to take care of the other bills in the house. She was supposed to do the rent.
What other bills did you take care of?
PG&E, water, and cable.
How much was that a month?
About $600.
And you would pay all those bills, and you have proof that you paid those bills.
Yes, and
I'd like to see.
Here's some of the bills. This doesn't go with that.
And proof that you paid them.
I got the receipts. If I gave her the receipt, it was only because she dropped me off at work early.
What's this Salvation Army?
We went and bought a computer desk and a TV stand that I paid for. She said I don't do nothing, though.
When did you buy this furniture?
I bought it maybe a month after I moved in with her. I came in with a futon. I came in with a stereo set. I came in with that set of baseball cards right there.
Oh, well, that you're going to... That set of baseball cards?
That's mine. I had since I was...
I don't have a problem giving it back to him.
Can I see the set of baseball cards, please? Oh, one of my children would be bonkers over those baseball cards. I have to take a look at that. Are you a real collector, sir?
Yes. Had those since I was in the
mint
sixth grade.
condition, or what kind of condition
They're
are
in
these?
mint condition.
Really? You know they're worth a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Are these Topps baseball cards?
Tops and Fleers.
Well, Fleers aren't worth as much.
I know.
right?
That's why I try to stay more with Tops.
See, I know a little bit about it.
I see.
Okay. Give him back his baseball cards, Butcher Bird. Surprised he left without them.
I also had a pending restraining order which granted me possession rights of the bed, the couch, the TV, and the lamps that he's here.
Show me. You mean property restraint that number 13 is circled? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I actually filed it. It asked me what possessions that I still had for me to temporarily keep possession of.
Well, you can't temporarily keep possession of his property anymore. He's going to pick it up. You have a temporary restraining order. You have to send somebody to get your stuff.
Okay, but
Sir, within 5 days. Do you understand?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
I just want my rent.
Just a second. Listen to me. You're not entitled to any rent. You didn't have a contract with him for rent.
We had a verbal agreement. The whole initial reason why he moved in was because I needed financial help.
Listen to me very carefully. Madam, if you let somebody live with you for 13 months and they're not paying rent, you don't come to complain about it now. He's getting his furniture back. He got his cards back. Now we're going to hear about your tires, and I don't want to hear any nonsense about rent.
My witness here saw him slash the second tire on that day.
Your name?
Leandra Whitmore.
On what day did you allegedly see Mr. Mixon slash a tire?
I forgot.
No, don't look over there. Don't look over here. Look over here.
I forgot what day it was on, but it was the same day as the first tire. We were at the studio recording. I'm a recording engineer. I record her. And I heard the car skirt by the first time. I was sitting at the computer. And I had came outside. When I came outside, I saw him by her left tire. Then he ran and got in his car and drove off.
Did you tell her about it?
Mm-hmm. I came right in.
Did you file a police report that day?
No, we didn't do a police report.
Why not?
Because that was the first incident of numerous amounts of incidents.
What difference does it make?
Because I didn't want to get in it because he's family with my uncle, and I didn't want to say anything, but things keep happening.
Did you ever file a police report?
No, ma'am.
I filed one later after his witness started harassing us.
I mean, this lady?
Yes.
She has nothing to do with this case. She has nothing to do with me. She has nothing to do with anything that's going on here today.
I agree.
The only thing that I have to worry about today is, am I satisfied that he slashed a tire? I'm not so sure you saw anything. Sit down.
Thank you.
I'm not convinced you saw anything. I am convinced that you're going to get your old furniture back. 5 days. You make the arrangements to get it, send somebody else to get it. And who is this person?
That's the neighbor. She's the one who pulled my clothes in when Keisha threw my stuff out in the rain.
Okay.
Absolutely not. She's the nosy hag.
Listen to me. Whose neighbor is she?
She's my neighbor.
Okay, well, good luck. Bye.
Warren Senate is suing his son's former friend, 20-year-old David Berry, for severely damaging his home during a party. David says he's already paid for the damage he caused.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 6 on the calendar in the matter of Senate versus Berry.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Senate, Mr. Berry is responsible for trashing your house.
Yes, ma'am.
During a teen party. Mr. Berry has already been convicted of trashing your house during this party. He's paid court-ordered restitution in the amount of $1,000. He says he's paid enough. If your house was damaged to an extent that was greater than the $1,000 that he's contributed, go after the other people. That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you very shy, Mr. Berry?
A little.
Or are you nervous?
Not really.
You're not nervous? I'm going to see what I can do to fix that. Mr. Berry, how do you know Mr. Senate?
I'm friends with his son, Matt Senate.
And where's Matt?
Right there.
Matt!
Yes, ma'am.
How did Mr. Berry get to your house?
I was supposed to stay at my mom's house because my dad was going out of town.
Were you living with your father at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
So, and this is your father?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're living with your father. Father's going out of town on?
Vacation.
And so you made arrangements with your former wife?
Girlfriend.
His mother?
His mother.
To take care of him?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you don't trust him in your house?
Don't trust anybody in my house.
That's it, unless you're there.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm with you, Mr. Senate. So you send him packing to his mother's house.
Yes, ma'am.
How long, Matt, did you stay at your mom's house?
I went there for an hour or two, and then I went to my friend's house. And
which friend?
Bobby Anderson. He's sitting right there. And then we were picked up from his house by David.
Well, how did you communicate with David?
I called him.
And what did you say to him when you called him?
I said, hey, you want to come pick us
up? You
up?
said, hey?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I said, hey, you want to come pick us up and we'll hang out?
And David said?
Sure, and he came and picked us up.
And where did you go?
We went to my house, or my dad's house.
Ah, your dad didn't want you in his house.
No, ma'am.
How did you get in?
I had a key.
Send him, you take away his keys. You do a strip search.
I'm learning.
So far, it's the three of you.
Yes.
At your father's house?
Yes.
How many other people did you invite to your father's house?
Not very many, maybe 3.
6 altogether?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were you all doing there?
We were drinking.
Drinking. Let me put that down. Number 1 is drinking. Mm-hmm. What were you drinking?
Alcohol. We were drinking E&J.
What is that?
E&J.
Brandy.
E&J?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you get it from?
He had it.
Who's he?
David.
David. How old are you?
20.
No, I wasn't looking in your direction. I was yelling at you. Just wait. I'll be looking your direction and yelling in a moment. How old are you?
I am 17. I was 16 at the time.
And your father let you be 17. That was very nice of him. Now, what are the names of the other 3 people that were there? Is not an answer.
Doug.
Go ahead, Doug.
David, one of his friends.
One of whose friends?
David's friends.
Who else?
And Salas.
Who else?
And that's it.
6 of you. You like girls?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you have a party without girls?
It wasn't a party.
Of course you had a party. You were drinking. That's a party. You weren't working. You weren't sleeping. You weren't eating. You were drinking. Sounds like a party to me. How much of this stuff did you bring?
I didn't bring it. One of his friends that's named Reggie, he's 23 years old, he delivered it.
Reggie? You left out Reggie.
There was no Reggie. Reggie didn't bring the alcohol. He had the alcohol in his car when we got to my house.
Not true.
So you were all drinking, and what happened, Matt?
I drank too much, and I went upstairs and passed out. And then when I woke up the next day, my house was destroyed.
How'd that happen?
I talked to the people that were there, and they said that David...
Don't tell me what they said. Were you there, Bobby?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you drunk?
Yes, ma'am.
You know how the house got trashed?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to tell me?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. Come up here, Bobby. Now, Bobby.
All right.
No, just... What's Reggie's last name? Look at me.
I'm not sure of Reggie's last name.
How old is he?
Probably about 22, 23.
At some point during that evening, Reggie brought some liquor over, correct?
Incorrect.
He wasn't there.
He was there, but he did not bring any alcohol.
He was there. Now, is that something that Matt just forgot to tell me? Is not an answer.
Yes, and he also forgot to tell you that Brittany, my girlfriend, was also there.
Oh, so you like girls?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sennett, your son didn't tell you about Reggie. Let's proceed, sir.
All right, so David had came over to my house and picked me and Matthew up. And then we went over to Matt's dad's house. And then he slowly brought out like 4 and 5th bottles of E&J, and we started drinking around like 4 or 5. And then we slowly like played pool, and then like we was having a good old time, and then things did get out of control. And
just a minute. Doug, David P., and Victor, how did they get there?
Victor has a license, I believe, and he got over
Well,
there.
who invited them?
Matthew.
Matthew? And how did your girlfriend get there? It's not an answer.
She had got brought over by Reggie.
By Reggie, the elusive Reggie who wasn't there. Brought over his girlfriend. Did you forget that, Matt?
Reggie stayed outside the whole time.
Did you forget that?
Yes, ma'am.
See, Mr. Sennett, what I'm trying to bring home to you is there's lots of responsibility to go around here.
I understand that.
You see, he's already been convicted.
Absolutely.
He's already been sentenced. He's already paid his fines. He's already done all those things. He really doesn't have a reason to lie to me. Him, on the other hand, he's a whole different story. Understand what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were all drinking. Then everything got out of hand. And what happened?
Well, David gave me, like, his keys to his car.
How?
Because I was gonna go look for some marijuana.
So you told David, you'd go look for some marijuana, may I have the keys to your car?
And he was all for it.
He was all for it?
Yes,
for you going to look for the marijuana?
That's why he gave me his
Had
keys.
you been drinking? You told me you had all been drinking.
Yeah.
And had he been drinking?
Yeah, that's why I don't understand why he just gave me the keys, like, so
Well,
willingly.
because when you drink, you don't know what you're doing. Sometimes you act really stupid, right?
Right.
Sometimes bad things can happen when you're drinking and driving a car, right?
I didn't even make it out the driveway, really.
So you were really stupid. What did you do to the car in the driveway?
I backed into a shed.
A shed? Would that be Mr. Sennett's shed?
Yes, ma'am.
You have pictures of your house, Mr. Sennett?
I have pictures of one of the swords that they took, that somebody took out of my safe and did a lot of damage with.
I'd like to see. So after you
You can take them on.
crashed Mr. Berry's car over here, what happened?
I took off down the driveway.
And?
Stopped at the end of the driveway and just, like, sat there.
Recovering.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then what happened?
Brittany had came running after me, and then that's when I went off down the road and then, like, set off at this little dirt road and sat there and just was, like, thinking to myself, pretty much.
What were you thinking?
Like, what was I doing? You know, because I was drunk and I was driving.
So what did you do?
I eventually turned around and came back.
In the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And did he get angry?
Yes.
And what happened?
He tore up Mr. Sennett's house.
All by himself?
Yes. He threw dog food everywhere. He threw knives in the walls, and there was soap on the floor. He was sliding around, acting pretty foolish.
Go.
Matt and Bobby had invited me to Mr. Sennett's house for a party, and I picked up my friend David, and we went there to the party, and everybody got drunk. Matt got real drunk, fell in the pond with the phone in his hand, ripped all the weeds out of the pond, and he climbed out of the pond.
Did you do that, Matt?
No, ma'am.
Was there any damage to the pond in your house?
Yeah, there was some plants.
That would be him.
No, ma'am, I didn't.
That would be him.
I didn't sue him for that.
And then he came inside, he went upstairs, puked all over himself, and fell asleep and passed out. And then everybody else was having a good time party, and then people started going out of control. People started throwing knives. Well, I threw some knives, but I threw some dog food and stuff, but everybody else did the rest of the damage. And me and my friend, we slept in the living room on the couch, and I had my keys and wallet on the coffee table, and Troy came running in there saying, Bobby wrecked your car, Bobby wrecked your car. So I went there, saw Bobby in my car with like 5 people, and I took the keys from him. And then later at night when I went back to bed, I made sure I hid my keys under the couch sofa, so he wouldn't get a hold of them. And there was about 15 people at the party.
I assumed that there were more that Matt just sort of misplaced, including this lovely lady, right? How many girls were there at the party?
Just me.
Sounds like my kind of party.
It was her and 2 other girls.
Do you know who the other girls were?
No.
My sister did come, but she left right.
There you go, that's one. Your sister came. I don't care if she was there for 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 7 minutes. Your sister and who else?
That was all. Just me and my sister.
So, Mr. Sennett, Mr. Berry was arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else arrested?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I was told that he did the damage.
They're all responsible.
I understand.
Especially him.
I understand.
Well, what'd you do to him?
I punished him. He's still on restriction, so...
What about paying for the damage that he caused? But for his actions, nobody would have been in your house.
I understand that. I agree with you.
So, I mean, Mr. Berry was arrested. He now has a conviction. I mean, you know, it would be different if he was 30 years old and they were 16. They're all the same. They're all idiots.
Right.
So why would you think that I would say, this is this young man who did the wrong thing, no question.
Right.
Went to this party. I believe he brought some alcohol there, as did Mr. Reggie, who he forgot to tell you was there. I believe that he participated in trashing your house. I believe there were a lot of drunken people who once it got started, everything got a little bit out of hand. But bottom line is, it's all his fault.
Well, and I've told him that, you know, for bringing people over, but David did pick him up with the liquor according to all the witnesses that I spoke to.
They all got together.
But he had the liquor.
I guarantee you his friend David P. would not say that that was true.
And the fact that when he backed David's car into the building, David flipped out because of the damage that was done to his car, and that's why he just started destroying the house.
Do you think that he gave him the keys to the car?
Absolutely. He does it all the time. He lets all the kids drive his car. He needs to stop hanging around with kids, underage.
He's a kid. You're not getting it, Mr. Senate.
I understand that.
He's a kid. Did you pay your restitution?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you convicted of?
Throwing dog food and knives in the wall, and it was like a $1,000
Destruction
fee.
of personal property is what it was.
As a felony or a misdemeanor?
Misdemeanor.
Is it the only time you've ever been arrested?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times have you been arrested? It's not an answer.
I've never been arrested, but I have been to court and been in trouble before.
When you were how old?
Just recently.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
After he put you on the couch, put his knee in your neck, forcing your mouth open, and pouring the E&J down your throat, I want you to tell me what he did next.
Terrence Sennett says his son's former friend, David Berry, trashed his home during a party. David claims he wasn't the only drunk in attendance.
So, Mr. Sennett, you have to fix appropriate blame. In my view, Mr. Berry has completed his responsibility to you.
Yes, ma'am.
I suggest that you look towards the others, including your own son, without whose complicity this whole nightmare never would have taken place. Because aside from being on restriction, and evidently your restriction wasn't too helpful because he's been in trouble since, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if anybody needs a little straightening out, I would suggest it's him. Make him get a job and pay for whatever additional damage was done to your house.
Yes, ma'am.
Not him. He's paid it. Now, you may sit down. Your case is dismissed because now I have a second case, which is Berry versus Anderson. You would be the defendant over there. Now, I already have the story.
Yeah.
And I have a very intact memory. I can take the facts that I gleaned from the previous case and bring them here. What was the damage to your car, sir?
Like a total of $2,500.
And what amount do you feel is your responsibility? Because it's clear that Mr. Anderson took your car. He was so drunk that he couldn't drive it, and he had an accident with it before he even got out of the driveway. And I believe that you brought liquor to this party. And I believe that you also agreed that he was going to go out and get some marijuana, and you thought that was a grand old idea. Now, the fact that you may have been drunk when you said it's a grand old idea, I can't take into consideration. So what I want to know from you is, how much is your responsibility of this $2,500?
How much? None.
Yours, none. Well, how much do you think Mr. Anderson should pay of the $2,500 that it's going to take to fix your car?
All of it.
When you party and when you're drunk, things happen. You know how I said to Mr. Sennett, he has to fix blame all the way around? You got punished and you had to pay because you acted stupid?
Yes.
But there were a lot of other stupid people at the party, including his own child, who caused the trouble by inviting a group of people over to his house when he knew that that was strictly off limits. Now, you are just slightly out of the kid stage, only because the law says that you're not a minor anymore. Mr. Anderson's a minor. You know that if he would have gotten killed in your car, you would have been responsible?
But the car was stolen.
No, don't believe that, sir, for 1 second.
Well, I was asleep when he took my car, so technically I didn't know he took my car, so...
You know how many times I've heard the I was sleeping when he took my car story? I can think of at least 20 times this year that I heard that I was sleeping when he took my car keys because we were all drunk at the party story.
Okay.
Good. Now let me see the estimate in the pictures. You do believe, sir, that you are partially responsible for fixing his car. You do believe that?
No, I honestly don't.
You don't? Well, you want to tell me why?
Because he brought the alcohol and he was more than willing.
Let me ask you this question. He brought the alcohol. What did he do, sir, after he put you on the couch, put his knee in your neck, forcing your mouth open, and pouring the E&J down your throat? I want you to tell me what he did next.
Well, he didn't exactly do that, but I was...
Responsibility. Do you act responsibly?
I tried my hardest.
Do you act responsibly because it's the responsible thing to do, or do you act responsibly because you're 18?
Because it's a responsible thing to do.
That's right. Well, that's the answer. That's a good answer, sir. So if you've done something wrong and gotten behind the wheel of a car drunk, going out to commit a crime, which is to buy marijuana, and you have an accident, you have to accept some responsibility for that, right?
I understand.
So Sir, are you complaining because there are scratches on your rims?
Yes.
I want you to stop complaining about it. I don't get excited over scratched rims. I do get excited over back bumpers, however. The back bumper is a disaster. Ooh. So how much was it to put on a new bumper? $661?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Cost to install the body kit. What is that?
It's like aftermarket parts, aftermarket bumpers, like make the car wider and make it look bigger.
Why couldn't you just put a bumper on it?
Well, the original bumper's on it now.
Oh, so you put the original bumper back on it. It's just this blue thing that you wanted that made it look bigger?
It was a show car, is what I'm trying to
It's
say.
not a show car anymore. It used to be a show car.
Yes.
It's not a show car anymore. It will never be a show car again. Does it have a bumper on it now?
Yes.
And do you drive it?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, I think that you ought to give him something just because you have to take responsibility for what you did. You took his car and you had an accident. We're not replacing his car and putting this ridiculous kit on it that makes the bumpers look bigger.
Can I say something?
What?
Like, when he said it was a show car, it was far away from a show car.
It was a show car to him. It was his show car. You have to pay him something for doing something stupid to his property.
Yes, ma'am.
You tell me what you think is fair.
A shake of the hand, pretty much.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's fair. You can also shake his hand. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused.
Filmmaker Teresa Gatto is suing her nephew's classmate, 12-year-old Pierre Guillet, and his father, Francois. Teresa says Pierre knocked out her nephew's tooth during a fight.
Now, this is case number 22 on the calendar in the matter of Gatto versus Guillet. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Not you. Ms. Gatto, this is your son?
This is my nephew. I'm legal guardian to him. I'm raising him, Your Honor.
And according to your complaint, this young man broke his tooth. And you want his family to pay for the dental work that's going to take to fix that tooth.
That's correct,
All right?
Your Honor.
All right, so I want all the parents and guardians to have a seat because you weren't there when it happened, right?
Right.
And you don't know what happened. Only these two guys know what happened. So you're going to tell me all about it, right?
Right.
Tell me your name.
Anthony DiGirolamo.
And yours?
Pierre.
How old are you, Anthony?
12.
Pierre?
12.
How long have you known each other?
Since 4th grade.
Do you like each other?
Yes. Yes.
Did you ever have any problems with each other?
No. Yes.
What kind of problems did you have with Anthony?
He's calling me very rude names.
When did he start calling you names?
In the 4th grade when he came to the school.
But I thought you just told me you liked each other.
Well, yeah, I've been inviting him to stuff like birthday parties, movies, stuff like that.
Does he come?
Yeah.
Does he invite you?
No. He only... Yeah. Shh. Yes, I do invite him to stuff. Like, I invited him to my birthday party in the 4th grade, and I invited him to another party, too.
When?
I think it was in the 4th grade, too.
So you're talking about 4 years ago?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about 4 years ago. I'm talking about yesterday. Okay. So, since the 4th grade, you haven't invited him to anything?
Not really.
Has he invited you?
I think only once in 5th grade.
What about in 6th grade?
No. Last year he came to my birthday party in July.
Is that right?
I believe, yes.
Okay. So even though he called you names you didn't like, you still invited him to your party?
Right.
Now, why don't you tell me, Anthony, what happened on March the 2nd?
Okay. I was inside of a pizza shop, and Pierre and Christopher followed me inside. And when I ordered my food, I sat down, and Pierre poured cheese all over my head.
Where did you get the cheese from, Pierre?
It was in the pizzeria. It was Parmesan cheese.
You mean from one of those little glass containers? Yeah. And you shook the cheese out on his head?
No, I just put it on his ear.
Put it on his ear. Why did you do that?
Because right before outside the pizzeria, he was calling me a lot of names.
Were you doing that, Anthony?
I called him one time, and the reason why I called him the names was a few days before that. When I went inside the pizzeria, he would always, when I got up, he would always sit next to my book bag and not let me sit down. And sometimes him and Chris would take my book bag and run around the block with it so I couldn't get it.
So they had teased you a couple of days before?
Yes.
Is that right, Pierre?
No, he teases me.
Okay. So you put a little cheese on his ear. And then what did you do, Anthony?
Then I ran out after him and I kicked him.
Where were you both when you kicked him? Inside the pizza store or outside?
Outside.
And where did you kick him? On his leg?
On his butt.
You can't do that to somebody. That's an assault. You could have hurt him, right?
Right.
And then what did you do after you kicked him?
Then I went back into the pizzeria to get my food, right? And then I told him to go back to the sewer.
Well, just a second. You mean he followed you back into the pizzeria?
Right.
And what happened next?
And then I was standing at the counter, and he came up to me, and then he slammed my head onto the counter.
And that's when your tooth broke?
Right.
Now I'm going to hear your side of the story.
He didn't kick me in the behind, Your Honor. He kicked me in the leg, not just once, but like 5 to 6 times in the leg.
What did you say to him when he kicked you?
I didn't say anything. I didn't run out anyway.
You just walked out?
Right, and then...
So you didn't get any food?
Right.
So you went in there, and your purpose for going in there was to put cheese on his head. You know that was the wrong thing to do.
Yes.
Okay. Now, tell me about when you hit his head into the counter.
Before that, when he said go back to the sewer, he gave me the finger, then said go back to the sewer. Then I walked up to him and I pushed him like that.
And that's when he hurt his mouth?
Right, and then I ran out.
Why did you run out?
Because I didn't want him to attack me again.
Go ahead.
Okay. He didn't just go like that to me. He actually went like that, not like soft. He hit my head onto the...
How hard did you kick him in the butt?
Not really hard, because I was running and trying to do it.
You think that was the right thing to do?
No.
Your guardian think that was the right thing to do?
No, Your Honor, I didn't. But he was bothering him days before that, Your Honor.
I'm not saying that Pierre did the right thing. Pierre did the wrong thing. So did Anthony.
Absolutely.
Now, Anthony, had you ever broken this tooth before?
Yes, it was chipped.
And when this incident happened with Pierre, it was chipped again.
It was broken this time, and it hurts now, like my tooth is sensitive to hot and cold.
But you still have the tooth?
I have part of it. This is like a temporary thing.
Temporary cap?
Yes.
Now, do you think, Anthony, that you are partially responsible for what happened that day?
Partially, a little bit.
Do you think he's partially responsible for what happened that day?
Well, Your Honor, in a way I do, but in a way I don't, because he's been bullied. I mean, he's been bullied by the kid.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, 12-year-old Anthony DiGirolamo says his classmate, 12-year-old Pierre Guillet, poured cheese on his head and pushed his face onto a counter, knocking out his tooth. Pierre says Anthony kicked him first.
Now, the objective data is that Pierre has invited your nephew to his home, to parties, as
And we have done the
recently
same,
as...
Your
Listen
Honor.
to me. No. According to your nephew, it's been 4 years since he invited him to a party.
Your
That's
Honor.
according to your nephew.
Okay, that was
It's been
wrong.
4 years. But last summer, he was invited to his birthday party. And there's no question that between the two of them, each one of them believes that the other one isn't behaving right. So all I'm saying to you is, both of these young men behaved badly.
You're right.
He had no right to go in there and put Parmesan cheese on his head or ear. Right? He had no right to kick him in the butt. So, how much did it cost you at the dentist to fix your tooth?
It's not totally fixed yet, Your Honor. They have to wait for the nerve to come down and get a little longer.
Okay. It's probably going to cost you at least the $1,500 that you're suing for to have a permanent cap put on his tooth, and I think that he's partially responsible.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, your actions that day are going to cost your guardian, your aunt, $750. That's all you're getting from them, $750. You got to learn to keep your hands to yourself. We understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused when they step out.
When I looked at Anthony, his mouth was out the hair and he was covered with blood and he had no tooth there.
He makes fun of everyone in the school.
He started to bully me around, and I got mad at him.
I couldn't take it anymore.
And now the next case. 16-year-old Manaz Solomoni and her mother, Mary Safapur, is suing 15-year-old Carrie McAtee and her mother, Kathy. Manaz says Carrie wrecked her car on the way home from a party. She also says Carrie had been smoking pot.
That's case number 61 on the calendar in the matter of Soleimani versus Safapur versus McAtee. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Bird, we have another case of Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber. The junior ones. What's your name?
Manaz.
And how old are you?
16.
And you?
Carrie.
How old are you?
15.
Did you have permission to take your car out that evening?
No, ma'am.
So you mean you took your mother's car?
My sister's.
How old is your sister?
She's 17.
So you took your sister's car without permission?
Yes, ma'am.
But it wasn't your sister's car because your sister's 17. She can't own a car.
Oh.
So the car belonged to your mother. Yeah. So you took your mother's car without permission?
Yes.
And you went to a?
I went to pick up Carrie and her friend and then to go to a party.
So you went to a party?
Yes.
Did you have a driver's license?
No, ma'am.
And you went to the party?
Yes.
And you were with her?
I was at her house before we left for the party, and we both went and picked up another friend.
And while you were at the party, you were drinking?
Yes.
What were you drinking?
Alcohol.
Got where we're going?
Oh, I'm already there.
And you had too much to drink, so it was time to leave?
No, the cops came.
Cops came. Police came. Now, this party, was it someone's home?
Yes.
A boy or a girl?
A boy.
Let me guess, his parents weren't home?
Yeah, yes, they were.
They were home. Why did the police show up at the party?
Because everyone was smoking and drinking and...
Smoking what?
Weed.
Smoking marijuana?
Yes.
Where were the parents when this was going on?
The mom was home buying the alcohol for kids, and I don't know where was the dad, but I know the mom was home.
Now, was Carrie smoking marijuana?
Yes.
Were you?
Yes.
Honest. So the police were called, the police were coming, and then it was time for you to leave. You didn't want to drive home because you had too much to drink?
Yes.
So Carrie drove home?
Yes.
But on the way home, she hit a car.
Yes.
And that's what this case is about, because you feel as if it's appropriate for Carrie and or her mother to pay for half of the damage to both your car and the car that was hit.
Exactly.
And Carrie's mother says,
no.
Why?
Because I was misled at the time. I had had several conversations with Mary before these two went to this party. They'd only been friends
Who's
for a
Mary?
few weeks.
Which one's Mary?
Is a mother.
Okay.
Because we were both concerned about what our daughters were getting into in their recent behavior. I was fully led to believe that Naz was a licensed driver. Several times she drove my child home from school. They both went to a party in another town.
Who led you?
Mary herself told me what a good driver Naz was.
Let's talk about the 29th of December.
Well, I'm believing that Naz is a licensed driver, so I agreed to pay for half of the deductible.
Just a second. Let's look at the objective data. This young lady has told me that without permission, she took her sister's car, who's 17, so it's really her mother's car, without permission.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your daughter knows that she doesn't have a license, correct?
Correct.
Your daughter knows that it's against the law to smoke marijuana. Is that correct?
Correct.
Your daughter knows that she should not have gotten behind the wheel of a car to drive.
Correct. Correct.
And your daughter was the one who was driving while under the influence of a controlled substance when she hit a car.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Correct.
And if what you're telling me is you do not believe that she bears at least partial responsibility, I would like you to explain why.
I do believe she is responsible for what is not covered and paid for by the insurance policy on the vehicle by the owner.
Okay. Now let me explain something to you, madam. She is not obligated, first of all, to put this claim through her insurance. Even if she did, it is more than likely that they would disclaim on the policy because the person who drove the car was not a licensed driver.
Well, Your Honor, I don't mean to interrupt you. She needs to take better control of her own daughters. And had I not been misled by her in the beginning about Naz having her own driver's license, not carrying her sister's in her wallet, this relationship would have ended long before that. My daughter would not have been in that party or that car.
Listen, Get your head out from
No.
where it shouldn't be. Your daughter would have been there. If you think that your daughter wouldn't have been at a party smoking your daughter wasn't smoking marijuana because she let them use the car. Your daughter's 15 years old. I would be more concerned with my 15-year-old daughter going to a party where the police had to be called to break up the party where there was marijuana being smoked and alcohol being served than I would over the responsibility to pay for half the damage that she did to the car. So we have dumb, dumber, and dumber. Okay.
Can
What?
you do me a favor?
What?
Can I have a copy of this?
Yeah, you want to show it to someone?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Good. Let me see the estimates on the damage to the car, please.
This is the estimate of the other parts of the car.
Okay.
This is the check that I paid, and this is the estimate of my car.
Okay.
And
May
we
I
have
have it,
some
please?
pictures.
What?
We have some pictures.
I don't need pictures. I got the picture. What do you want to do with the tape of this? Tell me what you want to do with it.
Your Honor, I have teenage children.
Yeah.
Uh,
Got it. I got it.
and teenage nieces and nephews. I
got
want
it.
them to see this one.
I got it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. 16-year-old Manaz Soleimani says her former friend, 15-year-old Carrie McAtee, wrecked her car. Manaz says Carrie had been smoking pot.
Your Honor, may I say something?
No, you said enough. You don't want to appear any more stupid than you already appear. Now, let's get to you. You got to keep better control of your daughter.
That's right.
You understand that?
Yes.
Your 16-year-old daughter and your 17-year-old daughter shouldn't have a car.
She has her driver license, my older one.
And this one?
No, this one has...
This one?
Yes. I already told Naz not to hang out with Kathy.
Just a second.
Not to hang
I'm
out.
talking about allowing her to use a car.
Yes, you're right.
You've done that.
No, I didn't let her to drive the car.
Are you telling me that you've never allowed her to drive the car before?
Alone, no. Never alone.
With whom?
With me. Because she has her permit.
She has a learner's permit.
Yes. So she never, that's why they drive. Miriam gives both of them a ride to school.
Listen to me very carefully. Something's not happening right with this car. So I wouldn't let either one of them use it. You understand what I'm saying to you? It's up to you. She's half responsible for the damage she did to the car. She was under the influence of drugs. She shouldn't have gotten behind the wheel. She shouldn't have been using the drugs to begin with. She knew she had no license. She's responsible for half the damage that she caused. But I'm telling you that you better keep better control of your daughter. Because your daughter is out of control. Because not only was she smoking marijuana that night, she was also using alcohol, and she was in no condition to drive, which is what put her behind the wheel in the first place. Do you understand?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,425.50. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I do believe that we were partially responsible.
Both of the girls did something stupid, and both of them are responsible for this.
She's lucky that my daughter was not injured.
She never drove by herself. I always drive her to school, and everyone knows.
She had been drinking like straight Bacardi and had been smoking.
I got grounded. My mom took away all my stuff.
I hadn't been smoking as much as either of the girls.
Parents should be more careful because drinking is very easy. They can drink all the time, and they can buy weed all the time as well.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Up versus Rodriguez. Step forward, please.
Web coordinator Debbie Up is suing her former co-worker, computer consultant Thomas Rodriguez, for unpaid rent and a loan to buy a computer. Thomas claims Debbie gave him the computer as a gift.
Miss Up, Mr. Rodriguez was a friend of yours. You allowed him to move into your house for a short period of time. You claim that he owes you for a month's rent.
Correct.
And in addition, you advanced him on your credit money to buy a computer.
Correct.
According to you, he agreed to make the payments to the company. He made a couple, but when he left, he stopped making the payments, and you want those payments.
Correct.
Mr. Rodriguez says that the computer was very lovely, but it was in fact a gift from you. And second, he says that he doesn't owe you any money for rent. He was out of your home, and you had agreed to allow him to store some stuff there until he could get it out, but he doesn't owe you for the month, I think it was July. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Why did you move into Miss Up's home, sir?
Well, at the time, I didn't have a place to stay, so
Why didn't you have a place to stay?
Well, I had an argument with the girlfriend, and I didn't have a place to stay, and she offered me a place to live at.
How did you know her?
I know her from work. We worked with each other before, and I've known her for about 3 years.
What kind of work?
Auto sales.
Why did you invite him to come to live in your home?
Well, we had been friends for a couple of years, and we had done a lot of stuff together, hung out together, gone to movies together, things like that.
Just the two of you?
Yeah. I knew he needed a place to live, and I had an extra bedroom, and I said, you know, for a couple $100 a month, you can rent my room in my house.
Did he give you any money towards rent while he lived there?
Yes, he did. He moved in the end of November, actually Thanksgiving weekend. He paid me for the month of December mid-month. I had agreed that he could pay me mid-month instead of being strapped at the end of the month.
Fine. So he paid you for December, January, February, March, April, May, and June?
And June.
What happened in June?
In June, he, as he said, he had gotten back together with a girlfriend. He ended up not spending a lot of time at home while they were renewing their relationship. So he spent many nights away, still had a key, still had a garage door opener, came and went as he pleased. And
still had clothes there?
Still had clothes there. He had...
This was the month of June or July?
Actually both. He, I guess, renewed this relationship sometime in mid-June, and throughout July they kept going and decided that that was going to be... I presume that they're still in a relationship. I have no idea.
Good. When did you get your last bit of stuff out of the house, sir?
End of June, early July.
Well, you have to pay for July if you still had stuff there in July, sir.
Well, I had already previously paid her for that month already in the middle of June. Like on June 21st was the last time I paid her for the rent.
Did you stay there at all in July?
No, I wasn't there at all in July.
Yes, he did. He, like I said, he came and went as he pleased in June, and in July, in fact, he spent July 4th weekend at home because I guess his girlfriend was out of town.
Does that sound familiar?
No, actually, July, I wasn't there at all.
July 4th weekend she's talking about,
yeah,
sir.
July, I was just there to pick up my personal items.
Okay. All right, let's get to the computer, which is really what we're talking about, because the rent is $200. Let's get to the computer. When did he buy the computer?
In May, I had agreed that he could use my credit with the conditions that he would make the monthly payments, but he had also said that he would try to pay it off as soon as possible because he doesn't like to have debt. He made the computer arrived. He made the June payment of $103. He made the July payment.
Who did he make the June payment to?
Actually, he paid me, and then I paid the company.
Gave you in cash?
Check.
You have a copy of the check, sir?
No, I don't have a copy of the check.
Why not?
I didn't realize I would need it.
Copy of your check register, sir.
No, actually, I don't have that with me.
Why don't you have it with you?
I wasn't aware that I would actually need it.
Of course you need it. Where did you think you were coming? Why would she, Mr. Rodriguez, buy you a computer worth thousands of dollars?
She said it was a gift. She said that...
Mr. Rodriguez, I want you to listen to my words. Why would she buy you a gift worth thousands of dollars?
Because she had feelings for me.
And you had no feelings for her?
No, I told her...
The answer is either yes or no. Is that right?
Yes.
So you had no feelings for her in any other way other than a friend. So why would you encourage her feelings for you by accepting a gift worth thousands of dollars?
I figured, I thought about it, and I figured I wouldn't look good, a gift horse in the mouth, and I figured, I would take it.
Oh, dear. Do you honestly, Mr. Rodriguez, believe that this lady finds you attractive?
Actually, what happened was, like about a month in June, she actually told me...
She's an intelligent, appears to be at least an intelligent, working woman. Why would she spend thousands of dollars on you when you can't even afford to have a decent place to live?
Well, that wasn't the case. The thing was I was just trying to avoid getting into a lease.
Just a second. You mean you could afford a decent place to live?
Yes.
You have children, Mr. Rodriguez?
I have a daughter.
How old?
13.
Do you support her?
Yes.
How much do you send?
$285.23 every 2 weeks, so about $600.
Do they take that money out of your pay, sir?
Yes, I have taken out my check each month.
No, they take it out of your pay. Because there was probably a time when you weren't paying regular child support, so they decided to take it out of your pay, correct?
Well, I would make payments arrangements with their mom.
Listen to what I'm saying, Mr. Rodriguez. I'm 10 steps ahead of you, sir. You weren't making regular child support payments, so they decided to do it by income deduction order and taking it out of your pay. Does that sound right?
Well, no, I've always, like I said, I've always paid her mom, you know, for whatever she needed.
You mean diapers for your teenage daughter and things like that? Diapers, Pampers, formula, that kind of thing.
Clothes, whatever she needed. Even, you know, purchased her mom a car when she didn't have no transportation.
Let me see the bill for the computer.
This
I hate
is the
people
original.
who use other people, Mr. Rodriguez, especially those people who rely on the fact that they think somebody, I'm speaking, that they think somebody is lonesome, and because they're lonesome and they need company, they're prepared to pay for that company, which is clearly what you thought, which I think is probably one of the most amoral things one person can do to another. We understand each other, Mr. Rodriguez?
No, like I...
Do we understand me? That doesn't mean that you will like what I said. I want to know if you understand what I said.
I hear what you're saying.
You're going to eat the rent. But you're going to get your $2,900 for your computer. Original price of the computer was $3,152. According to you, we made 2 payments of $103, $104 each.
Correct.
$2,900. You still have the computer, sir?
Yes, I do.
Are you enjoying it?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Rodriguez, are you trying to think ahead of what would be the right answer when I'm asking you a question so that you don't again put your foot in your mouth? Is that why you're pausing?
No, I'm just listening to what you're saying.
Got it. Judgment for the plaintiff, the amount of $2,900.
Parties are excused. You may step up.
I had offered several different suggestions, like him financing it through another bank, and we wouldn't have to talk to each other anymore. It seemed to be on his part that he didn't want the friendship to continue.
You would have to think, you know, kind of twice about, you know, saying no, but like I said, you know, who would want to look a gift horse in the mouth?
It seemed to be on his part that he didn't want the friendship to continue.
Well, on several occasions, she's, you know, I mean, asked me if I had feelings for her, and I told her, you know, it was just, you know, friends and nothing more.
I did ask him once just to clarify, you know, if there was anything beyond friendship that he wanted, and once that was clarified, that was...
28-year-old craftsman Jamie Cadell and her mother, Margaret Jeannie Pels, are suing Jamie's ex-boyfriend, plumbing contractor John Kuhn, for the value of a stolen money order and for the return of personal property.
Yeah, this is case number 117 on the calendar in the matter of Pels, Cadell versus Kuhn. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
What's your first name?
Jamie.
And yours?
Margaret.
You're her mother?
Yes.
You're Miss Peltz?
Yes, I am.
Miss Peltz, you gave your daughter $500 in cash because there was an outstanding warrant for her, she thought, for back child support.
Correct.
She has children who are in the custody of who?
The biological father.
She can speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the biological father.
And how many children do you have?
5.
How old are you?
28.
Are all 5 children with the same father?
No, Your Honor.
Where are the 5 children?
When I got pregnant at 13, and I gave birth at 14, and I had 2 children by the age of 16.
Where are those 2 children?
One is with the adoptive father. My other child was murdered when adopted out.
At what age? 2? Okay. How many children are with their father?
3.
And you have a current child support order, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You fell behind in your child support?
Yes.
Your mother gave you $500 so you could turn yourself in, according to you, and get the warrant lifted. According to your complaint, Mr. Kuhn got possession of this money order and didn't give it back to you. So you want that $500, and you also claim he has your property, clothes, pictures, etc., that he refused to return to you when he kicked you out of the house. You want a total of $1,200 from the defendant. Mr. Kuhn says never took your $500. You have your $500. That you have a drug problem, that's probably what you used it for. And as far as your property is concerned, he boxed it all up, put it on the porch. He has no idea what happened to it.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Kuhn, how old are you, sir?
48, I'm sorry.
So you're 20 years older than Jamie, is that
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
The 2 of you lived together for a period of time? Uncross your hands, sir.
On and off for 3 years.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Does she work?
No, ma'am.
Did she work during the 3 years you were together?
Not one day.
So you were taking care of her and supporting her?
Yes, ma'am.
Any of her children live with you at the time?
No, we fought tooth and nail to try to get some of these children back for her, but that was to no avail.
Oh. Tell me, Jamie, about this $500 money order.
My mother gave me $500.
Why?
And I turned it into...
Why?
Oh, I'm sorry. For my child support, there was a bench warrant that was issued, so I had, instead of paying $160, I had to pay $500 to get it dropped.
Why didn't you pay the child support?
I wasn't working at the time.
Why not?
I've had medical problems that have kept me from working.
What kind of medical problems?
I had severe hemorrhaging that went on for months. Not only that, Mr. Kuhn was also very controlling in our relationship.
None of that's true, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's get back to the $500. Your mother gave you $500 in cash, right? Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Actually, I had the $500 turned into a money order, which I had the receipt.
Good. I'll take a look at that. So she gave you the $500 in cash. You got a money order. Who told you to get the money order?
I wanted to because I wanted to make sure it went to the child support. I didn't trust Mr. Kuhn because of his drug problem.
Just a second. No, Mr. Kuhn.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Okay. And go ahead.
We did go to turn myself in, and they said that they couldn't find any warrants on me, that I would have to go over to city. It wasn't a matter that I could take care of at that point. It was a Friday, so I wanted to contact my attorney the following Monday to find out what I needed to do to resolve the matter. I ended up going out of town with Mr. Kuhn to Fredonia. He had some work out there to do, and the $500 money order went with us both.
Yes.
Upon coming home from Fredonia...
Which was when?
The Friday following.
So you were there for a week?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Go ahead.
When we had returned home, actually it was Mother's Day. I had ran some errands and came home with dinner, and since I wouldn't make his dinner plate, he proceeded to tear up the house and throw objects at me.
Not true, Your Honor.
I'm going to get to you, sir. Uncross your hands. Go ahead.
Upon that, I called my mother to come pick me up because I was afraid for my safety. I left all my belongings. I left with the clothes on my back and no shoes or nothing.
And?
From there, we contacted an officer the next day to follow me over so I can try to get my things. Mr. Kuhn had changed the locks. My house key no longer worked. We do know he was home. He would not answer the door.
I'm still not hearing about the $500 money order.
Mr. Kuhn was in possession of it. He told me he would not let me have it, that he didn't trust me, that he would return it to my mother.
When did he tell that to you?
We had a huge fight in Fredonia, and I asked for it back.
What was the fight about in Fredonia?
I do not recall what the fight was about.
Do you recall?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Want to tell me about it?
The fight in Fredonia was about the fact that she wanted to cash the money order and spend it to buy pills from a friend.
What kind of pills?
Lortabs in specific.
What are they for?
They are painkiller. They're Lortabs, Oxycontins. This has been a prevalent problem throughout the entire relationship.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Elle says ex-boyfriend John Kuhn stole her money order and won't return her belongings. John says Jamie used the money order to buy drugs.
Okay. You have a drug problem, Jamie?
In the past, I did, yes, Your Honor.
Well, in the past, I mean, you're talking about yesterday, a month ago, 6 months ago?
I've been clean for a month and a half, Your Honor.
Prior to the month and a half, you've had a drug problem. What kind of drugs?
Lortabs and meth, which John actually introduced me into.
But you've been with him for 3 years, according to him. Is that right, off and on?
About that, yes.
But you lost your children way before that. You lost your children as a result.
When I was very young.
You weren't very young. You were 25. According to you, you're 28 years old.
No.
Listen to me carefully. I'm talking about the 3 children that are with their biological father at this point.
Okay.
You visit with them? Is not an answer. Do you visit with them? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
When?
Right now, it's been suspended.
Okay. Has it been suspended because of your drug use?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
I mean, I was a family court judge, madam. They don't preclude a parent, especially a mother in family court, from seeing her children unless there's a serious problem. So in Fredonia, when you were there with Mr. Kuhn, you had a fight. You said you don't remember what it was about. Mr. Kuhn says that you wanted to buy pills from a friend of his. So if you don't remember what the fight was about, I have to assume that he's telling me the truth.
Your Honor, he needed $50 because he had not gotten paid on his jobs. I told him he could use $50 out of the money order for food for us. He promised to pay me that back when he got paid on this job. It was not for drugs.
Ms. Kuhn, you were not working over the 3-year period, so I assume you were being supported, the two of you, since you were living together somehow. Were you being supported because Mr. Kuhn was working?
Working, but he was also very controlling.
I don't care about controlling. He was working.
Off and on, Your Honor.
And that's how you supported yourself?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh.
And my mother.
What happened to the $500, sir?
I honestly don't know. The last time I saw the money order was on a Thursday evening in my wallet, and by Friday it was gone.
Where were you? Were you in Fredonia at the time?
We were in Fredonia at that time.
Now, you drove back when, sir? On Sunday?
Late Friday evening.
You drove back together?
Yes.
Did you ask her about it?
Yes, I did.
What'd she say?
It was none of my business. It was her money. She could do with it what she wanted to. It's what she
What
told me.
happened on Sunday when you got home?
Saturday, she slept all day, which was something that I was accustomed to. Sunday, about 5 o'clock, she woke up. We had purchased Mother's Day cards for our respective parents, and my mother's in a home. She's disabled. And I told her, my mother's not going anywhere. Get off your butt. Go see your mother. Give her your card. You know, take care of some things. I gave her $25 and told her to bring home some supper, since I obviously wasn't going to get any other way. 4 hours later, she showed up and she was high. She had cold fried chicken, 7 pieces of cold fried chicken, and said that they had cheated her out of the mashed potatoes, corn, or whatever that was supposed to go with it. I had been working at the house. I live on 3 acres, and I had grass to cut. And I was hot and I was tired, and she told me to fix my own damn plate, threw the chicken on the table, at which time I told her she needed to call her mother because I wasn't going to put up with it any longer. As far as her being in fear of her life, I don't know what that's about. She called her mother, and I told her mother over the phone she needed to come get her daughter, that I was through playing this game.
Did she come and get her?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
She came straight away.
Ms. Peltz, either on Sunday or Monday, did you go to Mr. Kuhn's house to pick up your daughter?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And at what time? Don't speak.
It was roughly probably around 5:36 in the evening.
And when you got there, was your daughter inside the house or outside of the house?
She was outside the house.
Where was she outside of the house?
Across the street at a convenience store.
And she got into the car and you left?
Correct.
When was the next time you went back to or telephoned Mr. Kuhn?
The day after we wanted to go get Jamie, my daughter's belongings. When I picked her up, all she had was the clothes on and no shoes. She wanted her court papers and her clothing and her personal belongings, which are pictures of my grandchildren.
Okay, so she wanted her clothing and some photographs.
Yes.
And what happened when you got there?
He wouldn't answer the door.
Okay. Do you have her clothing, sir?
No, ma'am, I do not.
What did you do with it?
They called me repeatedly on Monday, made threats, so on and so forth. On Tuesday the 11th, I called them and I told them about 7:30 at night that I was leaving and I would not be home for an entire 24-hour period. That their clothes
Who
were
did you speak to?
I spoke twice to their answering machine because they know my phone number and they never answer the phone when I call. That's just their way they do things.
You put her clothes outside?
2 bags of clothes, 3 boxes of court papers that were generated from my computer at my expense anyway, but they were her court papers. Nevertheless, she got them. There was a few pictures, an 8x10 and a little bitty photo album about this big of snapshots. This person here happened to be there when I stepped the clothes out and made the first phone call.
Oh, really? Step up. Tell me your name.
Linda Gordon.
What were you doing at Mr. Kuhn's home?
I'd gotten off work at 6 o'clock that evening. My boss had asked me to please go talk to him about getting him to come down and do some work on our beach bathrooms.
How do you know him?
I used to be an employee of his years ago, and we then became friends.
Anything more than friends?
No, never.
Now, tell me about what you saw and heard.
When I'd gotten out there, I went out there, was going to speak with Jamie and John, because I had been visiting with them anyway, and see their new house. I hadn't been out there yet. And when I got there...
So you knew Miss Cadell as well?
Yes. When I got there, John was in the middle of, packing some things up, and I had asked what was going on. He said she was leaving, and he would be more than happy to come in and give that bid, but he had to get this done first. I actually helped him pack some things, and it was approximately 7:30 to 8 o'clock or so when he did call and say he had packed them, put them out back in a breezeway in a little alcove so they wouldn't be bothered by the weather. And I proceeded to go back into Wichita. He said he'd meet me there.
Is there a key that's required to get into the breezeway?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
And you heard him make that phone call?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the breezeway shielded from the street so that you don't see it from the street?
You cannot see anything from the street. It is a garage breezeway behind the house. There's no way it can be seen. Nobody knew the clothes were there except her and I.
Your Honor, I have a PFA against him because of the incident that took place.
Let me see.
This is the second PFA I've had to take out on him,
the
Your
first
Honor.
one she dismissed. I have evidence here that she dismissed the first one when I paid her child support again.
Your Honor, he's bounced a lot of checks.
What?
I'm sorry. He bounces a lot of checks. He wrote a hot check.
Listen, Madam, I don't know why somebody who's 48 years old, who is a seemingly responsible guy, who has a job, who has a business, takes up with somebody 20 years his junior who's a drug abuser. I don't know why somebody who's, rap type does that anyway. I think that there's something wrong with him. I don't want you to get me wrong. I think that anybody who does that is looking to control somebody else because that's the symbiotic relationship that you enjoy. You're a drug abuser, unemployed, got 5 kids. I'm speaking. He pays your child support, he takes care of your bills, and he has the ability to say to you, prepare a plate of food for me. Listen to me, that's the dynamics. If you don't want to be controlled by somebody, whether it's this man or your mother or any of the other fathers of your children, what you do is you get your behind out of bed and you go and get a job and support yourself and pay rent and pay food and make a car payment and pay insurance and take care of yourself. I have no sympathy for you, and I have no idea where your $500 is. I have no confidence that he didn't spend it, but I have equally no confidence that she didn't take it out and buy pills. You hearing me?
Yes.
Good.
I have a tracer on that. We're
Good.
having it
So, show just a second.
it.
If you have a tracer on it, do you have proof?
Okay.
If you have a tracer, do you have proof that he cashed this money order?
No, I've been waiting for it in the mail. No,
Listen, I don't care what's in the mail.
Listen to me very carefully, madam.
If you have a tracer and if you're able to show me that he cashed the money order...
It's on that paper.
On which paper?
The very first one that he given you.
Yes. Show me where it says that he cashed it.
No, back behind there is a tracer on the money order, and I'm waiting for the name.
Well, what does that do for me? What does that do for me? I'm the fact finder. The tracer could say she cashed it. The tracer could say he cashed it.
John,
put your hand down. The tracer could say the drug dealer cashed it. It's a money order. It's a blank money order. Do you understand?
I understand
that.
Okay,
so I have no confidence that your daughter didn't take that money order, just like a person who's involved with drugs steals. Do you understand?
I understand, but he has a drug problem.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me, madam.
I'm listening.
Mr. Kuhn.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. That's just hilarious.
Don't, Nick. You're irritating me. I mean, as much as she is, you're irritating me.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, I don't know where your $500 is, madam. I don't know whether your daughter took it or Mr. Kuhn took it. It is just as likely that she took it and spent it on pills as he took it and did something else with it. Do you understand?
I understand.
Very good. Put your hand down. As far as her property is concerned, I believe this witness that he packed up the property and put it in the breezeway. I believe that he did that. And I don't know who came and got it. I don't know whether she came and got it or you came and got it and you think you're going to put one over on me. I guarantee you're not. Now, you have a counterclaim, sir.
Yes, I do,
Your
Your Honor.
counterclaim is that you voluntarily paid her child support payments. $1,200.
That's right.
That's real nice of you. So why are you bothering me with it now?
Because I was promised that I would be paid back this money, and I can document the fact that I have paid. I have received.
Oh, I believe that you paid, sir. I believe that what you were doing is you were supporting Jamie.
I was keeping her out of jail. She went to jail 5 times.
Listen to me, Mr. Kuhn. All you have to do is say, I'm leaving. Do you understand? Or you're leaving. Do you understand?
I did.
That's all you have to do, which is what you did. But then you can't come to court and sue for money. You paid her child support because you were living together and enjoying her companionship, whatever that was. You don't come to court and sue for it now. Do I make myself clear? You knew she wasn't working. You knew she had no capacity to pay you back.
She was supposed to get a job.
Well, she didn't, and she didn't in 3 years.
That's correct.
Right. Good. So your counterclaim's dismissed. She was not alone. And I have no clue what happened to the $500, so her claim is dismissed. That's all.
Excuse me, step out.
I'm sorry that she's so upset. You know, I really did care about her.
Mr. Kuhn actually got me addicted to drugs. I'd never even tried drugs in my life until he came into my life.
There was just nothing I could do to help her.
He used it to get me addicted. I felt, you know, to keep a hold of a younger woman.
I would make my own dinner and clean my own house and wash my own clothes.
I just knew that he's a compulsive liar, and what comes around goes around, and God will get him back.
It's typical display for her.
Being with him was just very depressing, and I got addicted to the drugs.
I was praying that things would get better.
I would like to tell anybody else out there, stay away from it. It's bad.
Now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Tarter versus Hughes. Step forward, please.
Bus driver Catherine Tarter is suing her estranged son-in-law, 25-year-old salesman Donald Hughes, for the cost of a trailer. Donald says Catherine is angry about his pending divorce from her daughter.
Ms. Tarter, the defendant is your soon-to-be ex-son-in-law. And
Yes.
according to your complaint, he owes you some money for a trailer. Is that right?
Yes.
The defendant says he's paid you a substantial amount of money for the trailer, doesn't owe you any more. You have the motorhome that went with the trailer. He doesn't have it in his possession. It's not on his property. I assume this is your daughter?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
4 years, Your Honor.
You have children?
Yes, I do.
How many children?
I have a 1.5-year-old daughter, and then I had 2 sons that came with the marriage that are still dear to me.
And who does that child live with?
I have sole custody.
Is that after a hearing, after a trial?
Yes.
Does their mother have visitation with the children?
No, she does. She has 2 hours supervised visits a week.
Does she exercise the visitation?
Sometimes.
Prior to the divorce, did you have a reasonable relationship with Mr. and Mrs. Tarter?
Yes, I did.
Is that right?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
I have 2 girls.
How many grandchildren do you have?
3.
How much money was this trailer?
It was $4,000.
Just for the trailer?
Just for the trailer, and the motorhome was $4,000, so they agreed upon $8,000.
And how much do you say it was, sir?
It was $4,000 altogether for both of them.
Is there a writing with regard to that?
We had a verbal agreement.
Is there a writing with regard to that, is my question.
No.
How much have you paid them for the trailer?
I paid them $1,950 for the trailer and the motorhome together.
But you only have the
I only have the trailer.
trailer. Did Mr. Hughes pay you $1,950?
No, ma'am.
How much did he pay you?
The motorhome broke down.
I'm not talking about the motorhome.
Okay, well,
He doesn't have the motorhome.
He paid us, I know, they returned it, so therefore all the payments that were paid individually towards the motorhome and the trailer were forfeited. And they were always...
Forfeited by whom?
By us. It was written down where when he paid us money, that $75 would go towards the motorhome and $75 would go towards the trailer. When one was given back in case they decided they couldn't afford it, or that it broke down, which the motorhome did, and they couldn't afford to fix it, they gave it back to us. So therefore, the motorhome payments, which were $425, was forfeited, and then $425 was credited towards the utility trailer.
All I'm asking you is that in writing someplace?
I typed up a legal contract because
Did he
at first
sign it?
He refused to sign it.
The answer is you do not. Shh. You do not have that in writing. Is that correct?
My daughter signed it, and
I don't care what your daughter signed, madam. I mean, I happen to think that you're missing a few screws, and I'm going to tell you why. You have a 1.5-year-old granddaughter. Your soon-to-be ex-son-in-law has sole custody, which suggests to me that if you want to maintain a relationship, and it seems to me you enjoyed a reasonable relationship with him before, if you want to enjoy a reasonable relationship with your granddaughter, you should keep him on your good side and not sue him, because it would appear to me that your daughter had to be a pretty deficient person in order to end up at the end of a custody dispute with 2 hours a week supervised visitation. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Why would a normal person who has 3 grandchildren risk the wrath of their custodial parent over nonsense? Over nonsense. He's paid you money, And if he, how much child support is your daughter paying for her daughter?
She's not, and they're not divorced yet.
I don't care whether they're divorced or not. If she were the custodial parent and taking care of the child, and he came to me and said, in the course of a legal dispute, and I said to him, how much money are you paying for child support? And he said, well, we're not divorced yet, so I'm not paying for anything. I would wipe up the floor with him. I asked you a simple question. The simple question was, how much money was paid to you by him for either the trailer and or the motorhome?
$425 for the trailer and $425 for the motorhome.
Are you passive-aggressive? How much money was paid in total for both things? Just give me, don't give me $425 for each. How much money do you say was paid in total?
$850.
Okay. And you say $1950.
Yes, I do.
Can you prove that to me?
No, I can't. I have no receipts due to my house being taken from my wife, and then when I got my house back, I had no paperwork, no receipts, no pink slip.
They say $850. What makes you think it was $1950?
Because I paid on time, sometimes a couple days late, but every month was paid since October of 2002 until December of 2003.
So far, is that right?
No, Your Honor. I have a payment schedule here showing. They were to pay $26 for insurance.
I'm not talking about insurance. I'm talking about how much money he actually paid to you. Okay. $1,450 is, by your calculations, what he paid to you. Not $850, $1,450, based upon this.
Your Honor, those payments were divided up between the motorhome and the trailer equally.
I just told you, he doesn't have the motorhome. You do.
No, we've sold it since then.
Well, that's not my problem. That's not his problem.
Well, I asked him to return the motorhome when he refused the one payment and took it back.
Miss Tarter, you're not following me. If you think they owe you anything for the motorhome, get it from your daughter. Do I make myself clear? You are a very foolish lady. A very foolish lady. If I were in your position, I would not alienate the father, the custodial parent of my granddaughter. I would not alienate him. And for a very stupid reason, money. You did.
This has been going on for over a year.
No, that's not true. Because December of 2003, which is not over a year, he made a payment to you of $500. That's according to your own record.
But we sold it to him on March 03, is when the trailer and the motorhome was sold to them.
Did you hear what I said to you? It's not been going on for over a year. He made a payment to you of $500 in December of 2003.
Yes, he caught it.
When was the last time your daughter sent any money for the support of his child?
March. That's not an issue. They're not divorced
It's
yet.
an issue, madam, if you're using your brains. March of 2003. Was she employed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where was she employed?
At Child Time.
Until when?
October of 2003.
And what did she do with her money?
I thought she was paying bills, but she wasn't. She was using it on drugs.
Was she placed in a rehab?
I placed her in a rehab in January.
Did she stay?
She stayed for 60 days, Your Honor. And then she was supposed to go to a halfway house, and she ended up getting kicked out of there for doing it again, drinking.
Where are her other two children?
One lives with his father, and the other one lived with the grandparents.
Ms. Tarter, I find that the defendant has paid you $1,450 for a trailer. I find that your agreement was $4,000 for the trailer and the motorhome, not $8,000. Whatever deficiency there is, I suggest you get it from your daughter. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Step out.
I don't want my daughter to not see her mom or her grandparents or anything, but I see where the daughter gets it from.
He's refused me custody of my daughter. He's refused me parental rights to my daughter, visitation to my daughter, and everything else. I've done everything that the courts have asked me to do.
She kidnapped my daughter from when we were getting Christmas pictures. She ran me over with a car.
I was having meth at the time.
Her drug use, it just kind of tore the whole family apart.
I told him to bring the trailer back or I would report it stolen. He says, well, you might as well report it stolen and you can kiss your granddaughter goodbye because you're never going to see her again.
Hopefully it'll work out. I really do, because it's not about me, her, or the